Gentlemen, welcome everybody to the school board meeting this evening. I'm going to ask everybody to rise. We're going to call the meeting to order and have a moment of silence and a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, once again, I want to welcome everybody here this evening for the meeting. We will move right into board member comments. I really want to send out my congratulations on behalf of the board for the high school basketball team. Some of you may know they kind of fell short last night and had a great run in the state playoffs, and I kind of watched them most of the year, and they were just a fun team to watch, a good bunch of kids, and I can't wait till next year gets started. But I do want to congratulate Coach Buzz Gabus and the kids. They did a great job, and they really made North Hills proud. They were kind of against all odds last night. They kind of fell a little short, but it was just a great year for the kids, and I want to congratulate them on that. I also want to mention that Gage Curry, who is a senior this year, is wrestling, I think, this Saturday for a state title. If my records are right, Gage is he's got a 35-0 record this year in wrestling. So I think he's going like for his 6th championship or something like that. But he's going to be at the Giant Center in Hershey, and I believe it's going to be on PCN. I believe. So if you want to follow that, Godspeed for Gage. Hopefully everything will turn out good for him. He's had a great career. And he's back at the PIAA Wrestling Championships representing North Hills, so good for him. I just want to congratulate Gage and wish him well. Are there any other board comments that anybody wants to make? Mr. Newton.
Okay, I'd like to make a comment about the last town hall meeting. I made a comment about the demographics in the areas that were in option 1 that were going to be added to Westview. I made those comments based on some experience that I had about 10 years ago over in that area, in one of the housing areas, and also the fact that when they went for zoning on the St. Benedict's Academy property, that was designed for low income. And I'm sorry, but we've got to try and keep the demographics balanced. Westview is 42% free and reduced lunch. Those teachers over there work very, very hard to get the students to perform. We don't need to put additional students, lower performing students on them. So that was the reason for my comment. If I offended anyone, I apologize. Thank you.
Mr. Nudie, the comment was very bad. I was upset about it. But on the other hand, putting that aside, we cannot make a decision on redistricting based upon income of the parents. And your presumption that these parents in a certain area do not work with their kids, it's wrong. Number one. Number two, you've made reference years ago, but I won't get into that, to another school. We're here to make a decision based upon what's best for the students in this school district, regardless if their parents are employed or not. And I know many single parents, women, that they're wonderful. You can't ask for a better parent with their kids. They go above and beyond.
Mr. Nudie, if I may say something, I live down near that area, and the parents down there and the kids are no different than anywhere else in Ross Township or any place else. Their kids, their families do the best they can.
Any other comments? Okay, we could move on to public comments on the agenda items only. So if we had anybody to sign up to speak on the agenda items.
Well, no one signed up to speak on agenda items.
Okay, great. Thank you. So that moving on, we will move now to Community and Intergovernmental Relations on the redistricting, and I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Yeomans because I know that him and his committee has spent a tremendous amount of time going through this whole process, and I do want to thank him and the committee for what they've done. I know that he did, and the committee spent, in conjunction with the administration, hours upon hours on this subject, and I know how difficult this decision is for a lot of us and what it means. So that being said, I guess all those hours you put in, you get a big overtime check this month. So good for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Free dinner.
Look for it in the mail. All right, Mr. Gilman.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Wilgus. It has been a very long process, but I think, there's two ways we could have gone about this. We could have the administration come to us with the issue before us of overcrowding in two of our schools, made a recommendation to us, and we could have put it on the agenda months ago and just had an up or down vote on it. But we decided, when I first joined the board, I was told that this problem was building and that we were going to have to address it soon, and we opted to make it a very open, transparent, and involved process where everybody would have a chance to have input into it, the board, the community, everyone. And that's what we did starting a year ago when we hired Shelby Stuman to provide the demographic study, and then in the scheduling and the holding of the numerous town hall meetings and other public meetings that we've had in the schools. So now we are at the culmination of the process and getting to the point where the rubber is meeting the road, and we have to make a decision one way or the other which direction we're going to head. So we did have a meeting last week where we did narrow our options down to 3 redistricting options and a class size option. After that meeting, I talked with some board members, specifically Mr. Muha, Mrs. Nolish, in discussing the strengths and weaknesses of the different options for redistricting. And during that process, we discussed the idea of a hybrid option between options 2 and 6. That if you overlay the options between 2 and 6 that involve moving McIntyre families to High Cliff, it takes that component of option 6, which is the Brookmead and Wallingford neighborhoods, and then if you take the Ross neighborhoods of option 2, that's the part of option 2 that is in this new hybrid option, but it's not exactly the same as far as which schools those neighborhoods are assigned to. So once we had this idea, we let Dr. Manarino know about it so he could him and Mr. Hall could run the numbers like the other options, and asked him if he felt that was a viable new option, if you would, to throw in the mix, even though when we say new, we're not talking about any new neighborhoods that aren't involved in any of the existing options. And so he ran the numbers, determined that it did meet the criteria of the other options, knowing that none of the options are perfect, but he determined that it was a solid option to consider. We asked the board what they felt about putting that option forward. A majority of the board said yes, we should put the option forward. So that day, we put it on the website, and Amanda Hartle sent out an email blast. So, so at this point,
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I was one of the ones on the board that responded back and said, I truly believe it is too late in the game to put this option on the table. We weren't giving you people enough time on it. That's number one. Number two, I want you to know that I'm on that original committee for redistricting. Was I called? No, it was Mike, Annette, and Joe Muha. They could have called a special committee meeting that we all would have been formed at one time. These are things that go on behind the scenes that upset me.
respond to
Yeah,
that,
just-
Mrs. Reed?
Go ahead on that.
Okay, I really feel that it's my responsibility, I take it really seriously, to leave no stone unturned in trying to make the best decision I possibly can for our kids. I visited all 4 elementary schools in the last, completed those visits since we last met. I've gone over all of these numbers again. I've gone over all of the demographic numbers again. And as I was trying to evaluate alternatives, I saw problems with all of the 4 of them. And so I was brainstorming with some colleagues to say, on the board, to say, is anybody seeing what I'm seeing? It was kind of a conversation, not suggesting that anyone vote the way that I was going to vote. I was doing what I felt was my due diligence to try to make the best decision I possibly could. And so the suggestion was, well, what if we do this? What happens if we do that? If any one of you had, after the town hall meeting, come up with another redistricting option, I would have felt the same obligation to take a look at it. If anyone else on the board had come up with one. So that's my obligation that I'm trying to fulfill. And so that is why I think it's worth considering.
Well, I just have a question. Are you insinuating that you were left out of the process?
Yeah, I mean,
In
if
what
they
way?
met, if the 3 of them got together and put together option 9. Arlene, you're on that committee with me. We were never notified. We didn't even know about option 9 till it came out on an email.
You found out about it the next morning after the evening that we discussed it. If you and any other 1 or 2 board members had done the same thing that we did after the last meeting and really beat up the numbers and were really trying to find what you thought was the best option possible, and you would have called me and said, hey, Mike, I think I have something that works, I would have said, okay, Kathy, please lay it out for me. Let's talk about it.
Right.
So
Well,
this
I was-
insinuation that we're going behind people's backs,
I was
I just
upset
don't
with
buy
it.
it.
I
And
mean-
I understand the last time redistricting was done, the option that wound up being selected wasn't made public at all until the night of the vote. Is that
That
correct?
is not true.
No, that's
That
not-
is not a reality.
Well, it
I-
doesn't-
I'm just saying
Let's
that's
just
not a
listen,
reality.
hold on, let's just not revisit the past. That's over and done with.
I know,
What I'm
but
trying to say is.
then don't bring the
But
past
what I'm
up.
trying to say is, we've never left anybody, this has been such an open
Yeah,
process.
at the
Everybody's had the
11th hour for this to
opportunity.
be called a non-transparent process, it just doesn't hold
I
water.
mean, Kathy, we've had 5, 6, 7 hours
I
of
know
meetings.
that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is when this option came in so late in the game,
Well,
we were unaware of it, and I'm on that, Arlene and I are both on that committee. They didn't
we were all
inform
made
us
aware of it
the next day.
I
But we
understand,
weren't
but-
involved in the process.
Well, neither was
There
I.
was no
Well, you're not on the
process.
committee, are
But there
you?
was no process, they just came up with another
Okay.
option.
Okay,
That's all.
that's just my
I
opinion.
just, yeah, but I just,
Whether you want to take it
I just don't
serious
want
or
the
not.
public getting a perception that we're operating behind the scenes, and that's not the case at all. It's been very, very, all right. Mike, continue.
Okay, so with that, we do need, it would be my preference, and we'll leave it to the board to discuss, to try to get down to 2 options to put on the agenda to consider next week.
So is there a particular option that you are recommending, or options that you are
Well,
recommending?
I have my recommended
Okay.
options, and I'm sure every board member has their recommended
Right.
options.
Right, okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
my suggestion that would be, we would each put forward our top two recommended options of the remaining options that exist.
Okay.
And see through that process
Yeah.
if we can eliminate some of the other options.
Okay. I do want to mention, Mr. Kelly is on
where's
the,
Mr.
on the phone. He is out of town, so he is on the phone here attending the meeting via phone. So he may have some input here as we move along. I just wanted to inform everybody that's the case. So at this point, why don't we start with you then, Mike, if you want to just consider being the, I'm sorry, we can't make any public comment. Are you commenting? Yeah, perhaps after, yeah. Oh, you mean prior, you didn't know, you want to make a public comment on redistrict? Okay, you can do that. Go ahead. If you want to state your name and address for the, you could just go right to the microphone. Before Mr. Nudi, before you do it, Mr. Nudi is going to read our policy for addressing the board. So if you just hold on 1 second and.
We'd like to invite any resident, taxpayer, employee of the school district who wishes to address the board to come forward at this time. It is our policy to strongly encourage such public participation inasmuch as it provides the board with an important source of ideas as well as informs us of many concerns in the district. The board does reserve the right, however, to limit the amount of time allotted to the public discussion of any particular speaker or speakers and/or issues, in the interest of preserving an orderly, effective public meeting. Personnel items must be submitted to the board president in writing 5 days prior to the board meeting. Items dealing with Title I and Title VI can be addressed. Some of your concerns can be immediately and quickly addressed following your comments, while others may require more research and discussion. When appropriate, you're welcome to further discuss your concerns with us following the meeting. We appreciate your interest.
If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name's Chrissy Zamuda, 1003 Homer Avenue. As the board is aware, and Dr. Manarino, I've analyzed the charts that were provided and the numbers provided at the last meeting, and I've discovered that redistricting options 2, 6, and 8 significantly affect more grade levels, classrooms, and students than class size policy option 3, and not many people are aware of that. With class size policy 3, there would be 5 grade levels impacted. However, redistricting options 2, 6, and 8 would impact 11, 13, and 14 grade levels respectively, and this is coming from the charts that were provided and the numbers that were provided at the last meeting. For the class size policy option 3, like I said, 5 grade levels are impacted, but this also includes grades 2 and 3 at McIntyre and Ross, both. So grades 2 and 3 will be affected with redistricting at Ross, and grades 2 and 3 would be affected at McIntyre with redistricting, with the class size policy option 3. Redistricting option number 2, there are 13 grade levels that increase in class size. And this includes grades 2, 3, and 5 at McIntyre, and 2, 3, 4, and 5 at Ross. For option number 6, 11 grade levels would increase in class size, and this includes grades 2 and 3, and 4 and 5 at McIntyre, and 2 and 3 at Ross. Option number 8, 14 grade levels will increase in class size with that option. It includes grades 2, 3, and 5 at McIntyre, and grades 2, 3, 4, and 5 at Ross. If we're being transparent about this process, with these numbers, the parents and the public do not realize that the redistricting options also mean increasing class size and will not only impact grades 2 and 3 at McIntyre and Ross, but grades 4 and 5 as well. And this would be the case if we would just choose the increased class size policy 3. So for that policy, you are increasing in grades 2 and 3 at McIntyre and 2 and 3 at Ross. And that's the same thing that's happening with the redistricting options, but we're including more grade levels and more students. If we are displacing students to other buildings and reducing the number of sections in some grade levels at McIntyre and Ross, this also increases the class sizes anyways. For instance, my daughter would be in 5th grade next year. She's on one of the maps to be redistricted. If she leaves and she goes to Highcliffe, that, including 3 other students in her grade level, would be leaving as well. So that would reduce the number of sections in her grade. Right now there are 4 with 21 in her grade. And next year, when she leaves and she is redistricted to another school, that class size, the sections go down from 4 to 3, and her class size goes up anyways to 27. Did also want to make a comment that I also provided the total number of students for each option that was analyzed, and this would affect more than it would more than double the amount of students that would be impacted as a result of redistricting. For option number 3, for the class size policy, 459 students would be affected with that policy. So that's 2 grade levels at McIntyre, which is 2nd and 3rd grade, and 2 grade levels at Ross, which is also 2nd and 3rd grade, and I believe 3rd grade at Highcliffe. So that's a total of 459 students. And then for option 2 for redistricting, a total of 1,211 students would be impacted. 1,091 would be affected by the increased class size, along with 120 students that would be moved from their home schools to new buildings. For option number 6 for redistricting, 1,030 students would be affected. And these are the numbers that were provided to me. I just added them up. 917 would be impacted with increased class size, and 113 would be redistricted. For option 8, 1,276 students. 1,156 would be impacted by increasing class size, and in addition, 120 students would be redistricted. So we're redistricting anyways, but we're increasing the class size more than double the amount of students. We're impacting more than double the amount of students. That would be for just the increased class size policy. So I don't know if people are actually aware of that, but I did do the homework and the math, and the numbers did come out as such. Hopefully, after receiving all of this info, this will help you to decide that voting for class size option policy option 3 impacts the fewest grade levels, students, and classrooms, and is in the best interest of all of the elementary students in North Hills School District. Thank you.
So we did get your letter, and we do appreciate you for you did do your homework, absolutely. But we've all done our homework too here, and there's many ways to look at these numbers. And if you look at the class size option versus, my two preferred options, as we're going to find out here in a minute, are 2 and 9. So I ran the class size option versus 2 and 9, and the class size option raises the limits in K through 3. So you're going to get a preponderance of the increases in those grades. So out of the 4 schools, K through 3, so that's 12 total. I'm not looking at kindergarten because we don't know what kindergarten is. I'm looking at first, second, and third grade for next year. So that's 4 schools, 3 grades. That's 12 sections. In all but 3 sections of those 12, the class size option increases the class sizes in those grades, in those critical early grades. And it hits Westview particularly hard. It's a plus, when you go across the board, class size in grade 1 at Westview, 22. Option 9, 19.8, option 2, 18.3. So that's roughly a 3 to 4 student increase per classroom at Westview in first grade, comparing class size to options 9 and 2. Second grade, class size 25.7 at Westview. Option 9, 21.5, option 2, 21. That's plus 4 more students per class in Westview second grade when you compare class size option versus the 2 redistricting options. Grade 3 Westview, class size option 25. Redistricting option 9, 22, redistricting option 2, 21.5. Again, a plus 3 to plus 4 differential. And it's like that, again, in every instance except 2 instances in option 2 and 3 instances in option 3. And in each of those cases where the grade level in a school winds up being larger than the class size option, it's plus 1.8 at Highcliffe first grade. It's plus 1.75 in Ross first grade. So the preponderance, and it only stands to reason because you're increasing the class sizes limits in those grades, that we're doing the most damage by stuffing the most kids into those early grades through the class size option compared to the redistricting options. Now, in 4, 5, and 6, we're not affecting the class size option doesn't affect any of the options because we're not touching class size there. So in any class in any given year in those grades, it's just from year to year it's going to be different. It's just a crapshoot based on the number of the kids. You could have 81 and have 3 sections in the class. You can have 82 and have 4 sections in the class that have a bunch of empty seats. So taking a snapshot, and under option 2, which is my preferred option, you talked about your child, my daughter's going to be in 6th grade in Highcliffe next year. If we choose option 2, she's in a maxed out 3 sections of 27 students each. Yes. Well, I would prefer people to know nothing about my personal life making comments, please.
This is a board discussion now, so Mike, continue.
I have a question.
All right, this is a board discussion, so go ahead.
Am I allowed to ask my
Well,
question?
I'm going to let
So-
Mike
so-
continue so he can make his recommendations, and we'll go to
Okay.
each member, okay?
So, and that's a lot about what we've been trying to talk about, is the importance of these early grades. And in fact, class size option, if we're talking about Westview, it raises the class size in every section, but 6th grade, where there's 6th grade would be smaller under the class size option. So we're putting the most kids into Westview under that option. And in a lot of instances, 3, 4, 3, 4, and 4. As you go across the grades, 4 more kids per room in that option.
Okay.
And the fact is, over the past 4 years, as I pointed out, we've put 182 more kids into Ross and McIntyre than we've put into Westview and Highcliffe. And 100 of those kids have been in just the past 2 years alone. Our demographer says those trends are either going to stay the same or accelerate. And that walk those schools, I mean, they're getting full. And it's time, we need to make a decision.
Okay, so you're suggesting 2 and
Yeah,
4,
you-
9.
2 and 9.
Okay, you're,
Mr.
Well,
Yeomans, I
excuse
have
me.
a question.
Hold on.
excuse me, you're redistricting number 2 and number 9, Mr.
Correct.
Yeomans? Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Yeomans. On your option number 9, it states there that we would have to have an additional 1st grade classroom at Westview. Is that in addition to the current classroom we're doing down there in the summer? Is that in addition? For kindergarten? How are we gonna, where's the room for another one?
Was that
They all-
27 rooms
They
in
all
that
have
option?
the same number of rooms.
Right
All of
now,
them
at
assume-
Westview, we're short. So hopefully tonight, the board will pass the recommendation to do this renovation work to Westview. And included in with that is going to be a classroom added. And to the best of my knowledge, this classroom that they're adding, they're assuming it may be for kindergarten because not knowing the enrollment coming in. Let's say they need that for kindergarten. Where's the room down there for 1st grade then? If you need an additional room for 1st grade?
I don't know why 1st grade was mentioned in that comment. If there's 27 rooms operating in option 9 with 27 rooms available. We're adding a room which would create a vacant room.
Which would be 28.
And there's, the only place on here that's caution is 6th grade with 2 chairs available. All the rest at Westview have 13, 14, 12, 18, 23.
So therefore, that was a mistake that was put on there that we would need an additional 1st grade classroom at Westview.
Can you show me what you're, I don't remember.
I'll have to get it on my, we didn't get a hard copy. I have to go by my handy dandy
but-
phone.
I have mine in front of me.
All of
No,
them have
first,
27.
no, it says for one grade level on the bubble. That's what he's referring
One.
to, grade 6.
It's not
That's
first, it's 1.
grade. It's 1 grade level.
And that's grade
And
6.
that's grade 6.
Oh, okay. I thought it said 1st grade.
Okay.
And I thought, no, we
Actually,
need
whenever
another
you
one?
said it, I started looking at it as 1st grade too. I was scratching my head.
Okay.
Mike,
I
do you have
like to
anything
ask
else?
questions.
Mike? You have anything else you want to add, Mike?
No.
Mrs. Reed, you're up next, if you have
Oh,
recommendations.
dear, I don't know if you're ready for me. First, I want to thank everybody for all the letters that they wrote. I tell you that I read each and every comment, knowing what your concerns are, time element with the schools changing times, parents are having to make different accommodations, classroom size. I read each and every one, and I have a concern for each one of you. That group over there in their Homer Drive where there's only, 20 students affected. That isn't even a community. That's just a little neighborhood, couple streets. I've read everything, and what I would like to see done is that we give Dr. Manarino the authority to use option number 3 for classroom size next year. There will be no redistricting. If we want to, we could choose a redistricting plan if we're all comfortable with it, that would be incorporated then the following year. If need be, we may be able to get 2 years out of this. I do not know. Nobody knows, because we can't foresee the future. And that we put the time and energy into it to give these parents at least 8 months to be able to make arrangements if their student's going to be involved in a redistricting. Right now, I don't like any of these options. There's not one I would approve. The only thing I approve is increasing classroom size, and if the board doesn't want to put their yay vote to option number 3, we have the right to have Dr. Manarino do the classroom size, and no redistricting for next year. We may get 2 years out of it.
So your recommendation
Classroom
is
size.
classroom size, option number 3.
Yeah, no redistricting. I will not vote for any redistricting plan that's in front of me. They all taken Westview and High Cliff to the limit. How can we do that? We can't. We're just creating another problem a year or 2 down the road. We don't have, and it's a shame, everybody put a lot of time, we don't have the answer to it. But we do have the room, and we'd be able to get through with the classroom size increase, which personally, and I want to thank, what's your name, Christine, for doing my homework. You did a wonderful job on that spreadsheet, and she proved that it's true. With redistricting, some of your children are going to be in a larger classroom size versus if we increase the classroom size.
Dee, you're up.
Okay, first of all, I am in agreement with a lot of things that Kathy just said. I definitely have a problem with the plans of redistricting. I think it upsets a lot of people. The same way enlarging a class size will upset people. But I feel that our district should try to enlarge the classrooms first, give the parents time, give the board time to come up with a solution that's going to last us 5, 6 years. Give us a year, give us 2 years to come up with a plan that's going to work. Because what we got right now might last a year, might last 2 years, and I can't vote for it. I'm sorry.
So you're in agreement with Mrs. Reed?
Basically, yes.
Okay. Mr. Nudi?
Number one, I'm against increasing class size. This school district has done very, very well with the current class size policy. There's no reason for us to disrupt that now. And as far as I'm concerned, I would want redistricting. I would take option 7 first and 2 second.
Okay.
Option 7.
Option
7 isn't on the table.
Oh, excuse me, option 9 and option 2.
Okay, so Mr. Nudi is option 2 and option 9.
Option
Lori?
2 and 9, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Option 2 and 9, Mr. Nudi.
Thank you.
Sure.
I forgot to say one thing that I've been thinking about. When I'm saying about enlarging the classroom, I'm talking about putting a time limit on it with with the board of a year to 2 years. I don't want anybody out there thinking it's going to be something that's going to last forever, because we have to come up with some kind of solution.
Right. We're facing the inevitable. I mean, we are going to have to redistrict at some point.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
I'm going to, please.
Now, option 9 does increase the class sizes to 140, the number of students to 140 something.
144 minus the ones that are
144.
currently in 6th grade that are moving up. So.
That meets a requirement that people ask that we should do a long-term solution. The 144 provides for a longer-term solution on redistricting.
Okay. I'm going to, Tom, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mr. Kelly up next here. He's out of town, but on the phone, and should add his recommendations or thoughts to the process. All yours.
Okay, thank you. My Able to be heard?
I think so. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned at the last town hall meeting, I am not generally in favor of increasing class size. However, having said that, I realize that's always something that is in the back of our mind as something that we may have to do. However, option 2 was always an option that I preferred, redistricting as opposed to class size. And if what we are looking for this evening is 2 options for us to vote on, then I would say my choice would be redistricting option 2 and the hybrid, which is, I guess, option 9.
Okay. Anything else, Tom?
No, that's all.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Dr. Nolish, if you...
Okay. The first comment I'd like to make is I'm sure not going to make anyone at all happy, but I think we have to think for a moment about the fact that we're talking about rising demographics in a school district. It stands to reason that the more students that we need to educate over time, class size is going to rise. I think that's going to happen because we've got more students in the population. So the question for us as a board is how do we control that? How fast do we let class size rise? Do we put in place policies that are going to bring it up quickly, which we do with this one? What grade levels do we impact? Second and third graders are early elementary school students. Many of them are still emerging readers, emerging math skills, emerging school skills. Are they the right population for us to raise class size with? I think there's, a lot of concerns about, I have a lot of concerns about that. So I would rather come up with a solution that lets us try to manage the increase in class size and try to keep it as low and as slow as we possibly can. And to me, the way you do that is you have flexibility in the amount of rooms that you have available at each school. Because ultimately, that is how you control the class size. If you have an extra room that's being used for another purpose, to educate a small group of students as opposed to a class size, and then you get a larger class come in, you can break a grade level because you have a place to put that extra section of that grade level. If you are out of rooms, then you have no place to put them. And inevitably, your class sizes are going to raise whether you want them to or not. So the way I analyzed this was trying to look at which alternatives are going to give us the most flexibility to manage class size. I personally cannot vote to raise our class sizes on second and third graders. So that for me is not an option that I feel comfortable. I don't think it's in the best educational interest of all of the students of the district. So within that, how can we look, I'm looking at these other ones trying to figure out how can we manage the class size the best. So I started looking at the number of rooms that we have available. And we know that we need to have more rooms available at Ross and McIntyre than we do at Westview and Highcliffe. Because the reality is we look at those demographic numbers, as Dr. Mandarino is fond of saying, those are people that are on the planet. The demographer had live birth numbers. Those students are living in the district. They are going to enroll in school, and we're going to need a place to put them. If we do nothing and we delay, we are going to have much larger class sizes at McIntyre, at Ross. We are going to have a lot of inequity. We are going to have a situation where we might be, we're not going to be able to manage the class sizes. I think the class sizes are going to go up faster if we delay. So that's why I started looking at these other options. And option 2 doesn't help McIntyre very much because by the numbers that it moves. Option 6 doesn't help Ross. And option 8 is very similar to option 2, which doesn't help McIntyre. So in trying to make the best of what is a really difficult situation, when I looked at the numbers at option 9, it seemed to me that it gives us the most flexibility to add sections and try to keep the class sizes low. And, so that is where I'm landing on this, and that's my rationale, is to try to give us flexibility in the capacities, lets us work to keep class size low. So I'm option 9.
Only option 9. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nolish. Mr. Muha?
Yes, thanks to everybody that sent letters and that, and I did read them, and I appreciate all your comments. I do want to share something. You know, it is difficult, and some people have asked, why don't other people do it? And I have this from a PowerPoint that I Googled, why do we need to redistrict now? One, population shifts have resulted in the unequal distribution of students across the 7 elementary buildings and 3 middle schools. 2, some buildings are currently overcrowded while others are underutilized. 3, available space should be utilized prior to considering a public referendum to raise taxes in order to fund additional construction. 4, all students should have an equitable education experience regardless of their building assignment. That presentation was North Allegheny on February 19th of 2014. So, it's something all are wrestling with, and all these plans have pros and cons. I am voting for redistricting plan number 6. I think I understand the argument that it gives a little less to Ross, but when you look at the projections for next year, there's much more comfort to me in the classes on the bubble. There's not many that are real low, and I think it gives some, if you look at the first, second, third grades, or, you know, a lot of them are relatively low in class size. So I think of all the options we have, I think option 6 is the best.
Thank you.
You say option 6?
6.
Okay, thank you. So you're just with one, option
Yes.
6. Okay. Mrs. Bender?
First of all, I too would like to thank all of the people in our community who emailed letters to us. It's extremely interesting to hear and read the views of everyone. I have participated in every meeting there has been relative to redistricting, and have truly spent a great deal of time making my decision at this point. I believe that we're allowed to disagree with one another. That's why we were elected. But I would like to voice my opinion at this point in time. I cannot vote for any option either. Basically, at the end of our papers, it indicated that the adjustments to neighborhoods. In option 6, there's a possibility of High Cliff exceeding capacity. And each one of these requires the construction of another classroom at Westview, which is fine. I believe it should have been done a long time ago. In option 9, the possibility of High Cliff exceeding capacity also takes place. In option 2, it limits the growth at McIntyre and at High Cliff. And in option 8, it limits the capacity for growth at McIntyre. And my understanding is that we're supposed to be doing this in order to make rooms available at McIntyre and Ross. And in most of these, McIntyre is not being helped at all. I too believe that we should raise class sizes. As Mrs. Spade said, not forever, but for 2 years. In order for us to see what's coming, we received a letter today from an individual who moved into the Highland Estates. She had 3 children, I think. She said there were 2 more houses and there's 6. Now, right there we know there are 6 students moving into Highland Estates. I don't know what grades they're in. She did not indicate that. But we have no idea how many students are going to be coming in from Highland Estates and going to Westview. So any one of these options that we use, then what are we going to do? Next year or 2 years down the road, we're going to have to take children out of Westview and put them back where they came from. I do believe we need more time. And I do believe the increase of class size is our answer right now.
Okay, thank you. I just So, for everybody to understand where I'm coming from, obviously, these decisions, or the decision we have to make here, there's no real easy decision. I think you all get that. I think studies are in that suggest larger class sizes do not really benefit students. I think we can all agree with that. At the same time, when you look at this district historically, I always go back to follow the money. And no matter what we say, it all comes down to what you can and can't afford. Honestly, from a financial perspective, you know what the answer is? Put 50 kids in a classroom. That solves the problem for 10 years. Eliminate some jobs, cut programs, do what you have to do, but financially, that works. It works financially. Some of the things that we're kind of staring at going forward in this board, this district, and with Dr. Manarino's supervision and Dave Hall's work, hard work, the financial status that we have in this, our balance sheet in this district today is as strong as anybody's. And I'm very proud of that. But it took a lot of hard work and a lot of tough decisions to get there. A couple of things that we're facing in the future, that we're staring down the barrel, and these are facts. Today, and you're going to hear more about this as time goes on, because a lot of districts going forward in the next 2 or 3 years are going to have some really, really serious problems because of our pension crisis. You may or may not know this. North Hill School District has a budget of about, 72, 73 million, whatever it is, 70-some million. Our pension bill, this district's pension bill, if they were to call it due today, if the state sent us a bill, is $98 million that we have to come up with. Do you know what that means? We could quadruple your taxes and still not have enough money to meet those payments. We're paying this year alone $8 million in pension costs that the state has given us a bill for that we have to pay. Now, the good news is 5 or 6 years ago, we decided and knew this was going to happen. We have put millions of dollars aside, and we're taking money out of what we call a rainy day fund to help that, so we don't have to try to go to you folks and ask if we can raise your taxes 2 or 3 mils to meet those obligations. So that being said, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. On top of that, this district, the school district, is facing over $100 million in tax appeals for property values in our district. That being said, if we lose, if some, and these are all appeals that are probably going to happen within the next 2 or 3 years, okay? If we happen to lose just 20 million of those appeals, in other words, if the total of those appeals comes in to be 80 million as opposed to what they are 100 million now, that bill that we have is almost $400,000 a year starting at 2012 that we have to pay back to these folks who appeal their taxes. God bless them, they got their taxes lowered if the appeal works. Not only on top of that, the law calls that we have to pay them 9% interest for each year. And by the way, we have no say-so when these things get decided. So we're just watching the bill rack up and hoping that this doesn't get too bad. The point I'm trying to make is, once again, this district is putting money away just for that purpose. Do we have enough put away? Probably not. But if we had nothing put away, we'd be looking at $400,000 a year times the next 6 or 7 years. Bearing in mind that raising your taxes by $1 million brings in $2 million. $2 million. We've never asked to go more than 25, I think 25 basis points for $1 million, because if we have to go over that, we have to come to you to get an approval. So the point I'm trying to make is, this district, I can assure you, you would be, if you haven't looked at this already, you would be very proud of our financial situation. And if you really want to know what's happening, we do have a public budget committee, and we explain all this during the public budget committee. But the point I'm trying to make is there really is only so much money that we can do things with. So when we have these issues that face us, whether you like it or not, we have to consider what the impact is on the budget. And so all of that being said, the fact that we consolidated schools over the last several years, that has impacted our budget favorably, very favorably, but we're still looking and staring down the barrel of some serious costs. I have said this before, and I'm just telling this for information. You know, I know where everybody stands on this stuff. We provide kindergarten. You know, kindergarten is not mandated. We provide that, and we absorb 100% of the cost. The kindergarten costs us about $2 million a year. Nobody here is saying kindergarten should be cut. The point is, when you add up all these numbers, they really start to take shape. When you're looking at a $77 million budget or $75 million budget, it's not like we have all kind of money to just throw around to add rooms, to reopen schools, to add more programs. I mean, we are running a very tight fiscal ship, and we've got a lot of issues ahead of us. But once again, I just want to suggest that the fact is that I am extremely proud of where we are financially. It took a lot of work to get there. And so, as a result, when we look at these redistricting options, I kind of like the idea, and I'm not going to repeat what Dr. Nolish said, but I do like the idea of the number 9 option. I think I favor that at this point, simply because there's no real long-term answer at this point. When I say I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible for us to put a plan in place whenever we do put it in place, and say we're good now for 5 years. That's not being truthful. I'd like to think that it's going to hold. Would like to think it's going to hold for 4 or 5 years. Our best effort is to try to hold it for 4 or 5 years. But to sit here and say we don't have to do this again, at least maybe on some classes or 1 school or 2 schools, I'm sorry. I just don't think that's being fair to you folks. So, all in all, when I sit back and try to consider this whole idea of what do we do next, I mean, honestly, from a financial perspective, raise the class sizes. Keep raising them. Just keep raising them, because that's the only way it doesn't impact us financially, and we get through those. But I'm not suggesting that that's what we do. And we have spent, in all fairness, I mean, hours and hours and hours on this thing. We've had meetings after meetings after meetings. And if we can't come up with an option now, it'll take us 80 years to come up with an option if we can't make some kind of a decision to move forward.
How many days have we had option number 9? How many days?
I'm speaking of the process, Kat. I'm speaking of the process. Nobody's talking about I'm not asking you, okay? I'm just speaking of the process. We have given a lot of time and effort to this. Obviously, any option that we choose, some people just aren't going to be happy with. I understand that. And I agree with that. But unfortunately, I think we are at a point where we do have to make a decision. We have to, I know Mike put it best, it's just kicking the can down the road, and I think it makes the deal that much harder the longer we delay. So, again, I'm going to suggest that option 9 be my suggestion. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Is that everyone?
I think that's everyone. I think I got everybody. Okay.
So everyone has the option to have two votes for 2 different options. Some of you are only going to opt to put 1 forward?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have a total,
I
Lori?
do. There were 3 votes to raise class size, 3 votes for redistricting option 2, 1 vote for redistricting option 6, and 5 votes for redistricting option 9. Now you need to decide where you go with that.
Okay.
Class size and redistrict number 2 both have 3,
Okay.
and option number 9 has 5.
All right, before we do that, I'm going to just kind of move out of protocol with the meeting, and I know there's some folks that want to speak, and we will give you an opportunity, so we will do that. But was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just
Okay.
Wasn't sure how you wanted to
Okay,
proceed
that's fine.
from here,
We'll just
but those
leave
were
it there for the
numbers.
moment. I'd like for these folks to have a moment. If you can all get up and go to the podium, state your name and address. I would just ask if you would be kind enough to please limit your comments to hopefully 3 minutes. You've heard at least our discussions. You're more than welcome to voice your opinions and thoughts. So, Amy, I guess you're first, but if you all would state your name and address for the record.
My name is Amy Metz, and I live at 172 Grove Avenue. I want to preface what I say with thanking the board for what I hope is the time that you say that you put into this, because this is very important to me. I really don't want to cry, but I think I might. I love teaching here, and I have loved living here. But you just defeated my faith in making the right choice for my child and all of these kids by picking an option that was put on a table 2 days ago. I can't help but to say it, and I'm sorry. You defeated my faith in this. I thought that you would have looked at all these maps, and Mrs. Nolish, I appreciate you coming to my classroom and looking at it. I appreciated that so much. But the fact that a map won, I mean, let's be real, you have 5 votes for it. That's where my son's going to go, and you're going to put him in a building with 0 capacity. 0 capacity. And a neighborhood's being built. That's all I really have. It just defeated my faith in the system, picking a map that was developed 2 days ago. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Molly Geiger, and I live at 131 Westview Avenue. I live in neighborhood 6F, which has been verbally insulted today by you, Mr. Nudi, not only last week, but again today. I'm not low income. I'm married. I have 2 children and a husband that works. Map 9 singles out my neighborhood yet again. Not only do you insult it, but you're singling it out. You're moving 15 kids out of the 80 kids you're moving to Ross, and you're putting them in a school where they know nobody. It's the only neighborhood out of Ross that you're moving to Highcliffe, and I would please beg you not to do that to my 2 little girls. You're going to send them to this school where they know nobody except the kids that live on their street. It's not fair to them. 65 other kids get to go to Westview, and they all know each other, and my 2 little girls get to go to a school where they know nobody. So you're going to pick one of the 2 maps. They both go to Highcliffe, but at least pick map 2 where they have other kids that they can go to school with that they know from their neighborhood.
Jay Evans, 204 Grove. I must say, I have found this process fascinating, and for none of the good ways that you ascribe to the word fascinating. We talked about transparency. You invited the public into the process. Thank you for that. And now you have 5 votes for something for which the public was able to give no comment whatsoever. And let me be clear about why I think that's important. Not only does it affect more students than any other redistricting option that exists in terms of displaced students, you had 144 student options on the table and you rejected them a week ago. A week ago. I don't want to talk about demographics again. It's been talked about. It frankly is distasteful the way that has gone and the way that has been discussed. But let's talk about what part of that comment raised was impact on Westview Elementary. Every redistricting plan that exists on the table right now puts Westview at 86.6%, 87.67%, 87.96%, and there's another one in, I forgot 2, which is the great news, 2 is only at 85.9%. So you're talking about the impact on Westview, forget demographics, you're putting Westview at 86% on all of these plans except for class size, which keeps it in the 70s. Finally, I want to really hit the point that I have found the most frustrating about class size. Every plan on the board increases class size from 21.5 to 22 point something, whether it's 22.4 or 22.98, which is class size option 3. Every plan increases class size. And I understand that the retort to that is someone's going to tell me, but not these classes and not those classes. And I get that. But the fact of the matter is that we are in a position where you've invited the public to comment. We've all talked about how much we hate increasing class size. And now we're going to vote on plans where all of them increase class size, but one increases class size only 0.7 and the other one increases it 1.2. So therefore, we're not really increasing class size. And the fascinating thing, and I don't mean to cast any aspersions any more than I already have, but I find it fascinating that there's really only one plan on the table that actually saves money. Mr. President, you said you were interested in keeping the budget in mind, and yet you're not going to support the only option that saves significant revenue.
Christina Smith, 128 Heatherton Drive. When we were at the last meeting, I specifically asked the people on the board if any of these options directly impacted your families. And I was told by two of you that it possibly did. And Mr. Yeomans, you told me that it did affect your family, but you were going to vote option number 2, which didn't. And I was waiting to see tonight what you would do, and you did exactly what I thought. You created a whole new option that just benefited you. And that is really very frustrating.
How does it benefit me? How does it benefit me?
Does that mean that your child now will be redistricted to the school that she currently attends? With
How
option
can you
9?
be redistricted to a school that you're already in?
Because you're actually in the McIntyre, school area.
I live on Tadmore Avenue, which is
Your
in the
ex-wife
high
lives in
class.
Wallingford.
Okay.
So we talked about this last time, and that means that your ex-wife drives your daughter to Highcliff daily.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Before you think you know so much about me, and I didn't envision bringing my personal life into this.
Right.
My
but we
wife
talked
and
about that
my
last week.
ex-wife and I share 50-50 custody
Right.
of our daughter and my son. That means they're with me half the time, they're with her half the time. I live in the marital residence that they've lived in their whole life. My address is their school address. So I don't understand what point you're trying to make.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is I asked you last week about this, and you said to me, it doesn't matter anyway because I'm voting for option 2. Yet then, 2 days ago, you and a few other people came up with an option that we've never heard before, which is option 9, that directly impacts the neighborhood that you and I talked about last time, and you vote for that one. So whether your arrangement is 50-50 or not, you didn't mention that last week, and yet you told me, but don't worry about it, I'm going to vote option 2. You said that to all of us. And then it's just interesting to me that you come up with an option with a few people on the slide 2 days before the vote, and it includes the whole neighborhood that we just talked about last week. So I just want to point out how shady that seems.
Well,
Hi, Patrick Clements, 179 Grove Avenue. I was wondering if I could just start out by asking Dr. Manarino a couple quick questions. Would you agree that 2,000 families would be an appropriate estimate for how many elementary families are affected? Like, if we asked how many elementary families are there in 4 schools, would 2,000 be close?
Yeah, that's relatively close. There's 2,200 students, so that's
And
multiple families.
By
sure.
and some have more than 2
Sure.
kids. So, if I asked you how many elementary teachers there are in the 4 schools, roughly, how
There's
many
105.
in each?
So
Or
that's the classroom teachers, K-6. When you add on the specialists, special ed teachers, gate teachers, that number significantly changes. But the classroom teachers is 105.
per school, or to?
That's the district.
Okay, so we could say 2,000, a little over 2,000 people then, including, so I want to know, where are all those people if they're so against increasing class size? And I know some of them have sent emails or letters, but we stood and we said justice for all just a few minutes ago, the Pledge of Allegiance. If it's justice for all of us elementary folks, we would be sharing the brunt through 4 schools, and we would all take a little hit if there's 1 extra kid by our kid or 2 extra kids. But it's obviously not that big of a deal to those 2,100 other people, but to the people who are getting torn out of their home school, their kids are getting their roots uplifted and going to go through a traumatic experience, maybe to only go through that a year later. This is very traumatic for us, and that's why we're here. It's obviously not that big of a deal for those 2,000 people to take 1 extra kid, or maybe 2, maybe none. If it was, they would be here giving up their nights. They would be at all the meetings, but they're not. So, thank you.
Kelly Walker, 133 Brookmead Drive. I'm going to take a slightly different approach, and I'm not going to ask the board to take redistricting off the table as an option. It's been said at this meeting, and it's been said at multiple other meetings, that based on Dr. Stuman's projections and our best guess is redistricting is going to happen, whether it happens this year or in 2 years or in 5 years. It's also been said at multiple meetings that raising class sizes is most likely going to have to happen again, maybe not this year, maybe in 2, maybe in 5 years. What I'm going to ask is the board takes the opportunity to make the transition for all the families, for the students, for the PTO boards and the PTA boards and the schools and the teachers, and do a delayed redistricting schedule. You have the power to make this a fun, a stress-free, and something that's not thrown on students 2 months before they go on their summer break. And no schools are in session, and no students have the opportunity to attend events at what's going to be their new schools next year. I can see no reason outside of selfish reasons for why you wouldn't say, let's increase class sizes for the 2016-17 school year. Let's choose the neighborhoods that we're going to redistrict shortly thereafter and put that plan in place for 2016-17, or I'm sorry, 17-18 school year. And before it's put out there, I do not have a 6th grader. I'm not saying this for selfish reasons. I have a son who's going to be in one of these 4 schools for the next 4 years. So I'm not trying to delay it for myself. I'm trying to give him the opportunity to see this as a fun, anticipated thing rather than something that's slammed on him 2 months before he ends school. Thank you.
Catherine Regan, 108 Conzier Drive. I'm just going to speak about class size. And I've never been in favor of class size increasing. I've been coming to these meetings pretty frequently through our last PTO meeting last year when it was kind of rolled out for the first time. And for a year, people were talking about redistricting, and I believe in the fall, I can't remember exactly what meeting it was, November or December, somebody specifically that has a student at Highcliffe asked the board, are you going to increase class size because class ratio is important? They said no at that time. It's about evening out enrollment. And then about 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago, there was a email that came out on a Monday about an option to increase class size. That does affect me personally. That affects my children. At Ross, if you increase the class size, the oldest kids in that building have the lowest classes, 21, 22. The youngest kids, my incoming kindergartner, would have a bigger class than the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. My 3rd grader would have a bigger class than the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. So I appreciate your time. I do understand what some people have been saying about there's not a lot of us out here, and I'm frustrated that there aren't more of us out here because I hear a lot of whatever the word is on Facebook and whatnot, but it does impact our children as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason Paring, 108 Upper Drive. A few things. Number one, I'm looking at all these, and number 9, I can't believe it. I truly cannot believe you put something on the table when parents didn't get a chance to talk about it. You're trying to build a trust in the community, and you're trying to continue helping out, and you feel like you're doing the best job, and then you throw a number 9 on the last minute. And to me, I think that is very, very unprofessional. You guys know, I was at the PTO meetings with you guys. I've been to most of these meetings. I've been to most of the redistricting meetings. I've been there from day one, and I've been listening to every single word you guys have been saying. I've been taking notes, trying to figure out what's going on. And I looked at every single option, and I told you guys numerous times, you're almost, in my opinion, putting a Band-Aid on something and figuring out, and you're sending it down the road. I don't, looking at these options, truly, just going back to someone said about the Highland Country Club. That place is a gold mine. You keep saying they're 10 years out. Come on, Ryan Home's a business. They're trying to make as much money as they possibly can. If they can build 300 houses in one day, they'll do it. They want people to move in their neighborhood. My friends, they live in Avonworth. I told you just before. Just in their block of houses, there's 60 kids. 60. I mean, that's something they have to deal with. I mean, people moving in those houses are not going to be moving in just with their wife, and that's it. Maybe once in a while, yes, but they're to move in because there's 4 or 5 bedroom houses. So I said this numerous times, looking at these options, you're thinking that's okay now, but 2 years ago, we're having the same argument. Or in my opinion, I think you're going to raise class sizes anyways. You're going to pick these 2 options, and you're going to continue to change the class size policy. And I told you from this day one, I still have a 1-year-old. I'm going to be here every single meeting till I'm grayer than you can imagine a ball, and I'll be standing here. I'm thinking at these options. This is not the right decision. It's truly not. It's not fair for these people that are taxpayers in this community that you throw something on the table the last minute. I talked about adding class sizes. I don't know what your fund balance is right now. If you add on to one of these schools, or you open up Seville, you open up something, you give these people more options. It fixes something permanently. So you do add more people living in any housing plan. They build anywhere they want. You have more classes to add more students and add more staff if need be. That's my only option. Again, I just don't think that's fair for the last second.
I do want to, go ahead.
I'd like to make a comment on the class size option 3. I don't know if everybody's looked at that, but Westview has the highest class average size of all the school district, all the elementaries in the district. And that is the school that can least afford the higher class size. So you're...
They're saying it's going to go up anyways with the kids we're putting.
I understand, I understand.
You didn't hear.
I understand, that's okay.
The demographics in the future shows Westview dropping, Highcliffe and Westview dropping in the future. But if we're delaying the redistricting another year, what are we going to do with 25 kids in a classroom at Westview right now for next year? What are we going to do in that case?
Okay. I do want to mention the lady that spoke. If we can have some order, please. Thank you. I do want to mention the lady that spoke before Jason did make a comment about perhaps asking us to consider picking an option. If I understood you correctly, picking an option, pick the option, but say this is going to happen a year from now. This is the option. I'm not suggesting we revisit this issue. I'm saying that here's the option. Does anybody have a problem with at least giving that some thought until we vote on the? I mean, I'm just asking. Is there any?
I have no problem.
But what we're saying, I just want you to understand something. Right. We're talking about choosing an option that goes into effect.
That's where I have the concern.
Well, that's what I want, but that's okay. I know you're against it. I understand. I'm just asking. Is there a majority of members that would like to at least give that some thought? That would suggest we pick an option. We will do it. It doesn't impact or doesn't take effect until next year. What are we missing there, Mike? I'll ask you first.
I mean, I've thought about that. Okay. I've wrestled with this, and obviously people know where I stand. I've let it be known for quite a while now, but I don't want the perception to be out there that I haven't agonized over this, lost sleep over it. Think about it when I should be at my job working, and I all of a sudden decide, well, what if we do this? And I put aside my work and I open up these maps, and at the end of the day, we have to make hard decisions. We don't get paid anything, and if the next time, if I decide to run again, if people decide to vote against me, you'll make my wife probably the happiest woman in North Hills School District for the time that she'll get back from me. But and I have thought about that. Just delay it one more year, raise the class size a little bit. But then you know what will happen next year? It'll be like, well, maybe we can push it back one more year by just cramming a few more kids into Ross and McIntyre. There's still a little bit more room right there. We've seen the numbers, 182 kid differential over the past 4 years, 100 of that in just the past 2 years. It's predicted to continue. It needs to happen. And in my mind, it's time to stop kicking down the road. When you talk about Band-Aids, that's a Band-Aid solution to put it off 1 or 2 more years. So I would be against delaying.
I just have a question. Dr. Manarino, are you here?
Yeah.
I'm right here. He's so quiet. Can we do that? You had indicated, if we would decide, if the majority of the board would decide to pass an option and not put it through until a year, can we do it next year?
The answer is yes. What I said at the very, very beginning was we cannot do nothing because we will be over capacity at Ross by simply letting everything stay as it is. This is not doing nothing. It is creating space. You can see what the space looks like in option 3. So is it doable? Yes, it is.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
But you're saying it's doable if we would agree to raise class size.
What you're
It is
essentially
not
doing is choosing
doable.
option 3
It's not
to raise
doable.
class size to give us the relief for this year as we budget and schedule for next year's class. The suggestion is take that opportunity to have relief, pick a redistrict option that goes into effect in 17-18 and allow us to transition students over an 18-month period as opposed to a 6-month period. That's what the suggestion is. And so what you're doing is both. And yes, raising the class size, I said when that option came on in the town hall meeting that this will delay this for 1, 2, 3, I don't know how many years. As soon as I have kindergarten numbers, I'll tell you exactly how many it's going to be every time I get the kindergarten numbers. So I'm pretty certain that you choose option 3. We're going to survive the budgeting and scheduling season for next year. Once I have kindergarten numbers, I'll tell you exactly how long we can sustain that based upon the 5s and 3s that are on the board. And I've gone over that a number of different times. So that will work, doing both.
And that
Well, doing both is sort of, it gives you more time. It delays redistricting into the future several more years. There's not a solution to eliminate this district from redistricting without overbuilding, overcapacity in a bill we absolutely, financially cannot afford.
I remember us speaking about the fact, and I cannot remember if it was at one of the school visits or the PTO delegation that meets with Dr. Manarino, but we had talked about the possibility of doing both, that the reality is we should do both. That is really the best solution. And I can't remember, one meeting sort of goes into another, so I'm sorry.
Well, if somebody wants to, I don't
Well,
support it, but
I
what
understand,
would we do now?
but I guess the question is, it appears that Kathy, Dee, and Arlene, even if this were an option, you wouldn't vote for it anyway.
Well, if
You would not support the option.
Well, wait a minute. We would have to do the option 3,
I understand. but
and
you
then we would pick one of these. I don't have a problem, maybe.
With support,
Maybe.
I really have to think about this.
Yeah, I personally.
I'm really stuck with this number 9.
I don't have a redistricting option that I truly like.
okay, so you wouldn't support a redistricting option even if it was delayed for a year?
At one of these
Okay,
options.
that's fair. All right, I just want to make sure I
Yeah,
understand
I
your...
mean, we're putting Westview to their capacity.
Yeah.
We're putting Highcliffe to their capacity. And Highcliffe is a Title I school.
Dee, where are you, or would you be looking at potentially supporting a redistricting option if you knew it was going to be going within a year? I mean, there's no wrong answer.
If it was
Just-
workable.
Well,
If it
I
was,
mean-
if it's out there, will
here
I look at it?
I mean,
Yes, one of
we're
these.
talking about one of these
Yeah,
options.
one of these.
Yeah,
I mean,
which one
it's
would you-
out, which one would I support?
Not sure.
Okay. So there's no guarantee you would support a redistricting option
Right.
even if we delayed it for a year? Okay.
Well, you probably have the votes for a redistricting project.
Yeah,
You probably have the votes for that. What you don't have the votes for is raising classroom sizes for a year
Right,
or
right.
2.
Okay.
Well,
And that's where they have to come.
One of the reasons that I worked on option 9 and thought about option 9 is I really do believe what I said at the beginning, which is up until the time that we actually vote, we do owe it to our students to think of any other ideas and to try to consider things. So I really will have a problem voting for class size. I really don't know if I can do it because as an educator, I just don't, it bothers me. It concerns me. But I am willing to listen. I am willing to consider things for another week. You know, I mean, I do think we owe it to our students to put things on the table. So I don't have an objection to putting things on the table. That doesn't mean that I could vote for it in a week.
Okay.
But I'm certainly willing to consider it. I also would put this out there for anyone who has a better idea. Please tell me. I mean, you know, when we looked at this was not an attempt to look at, you know, I'm speaking only for myself. This was not an attempt to look at anyone else's neighborhood. In fact, I looked specifically at the neighborhoods that already were on the map and said, okay, these are neighborhoods that we've been discussing. Is there a better combination that gives us more flexibility to manage class size, which is what my personal goal is. I would like to see us managing our class size to try to keep it as low as possible. So if anyone else has other ideas, if we want to bring other ideas forward, I don't have objections to having other ideas brought forward and having people think about it. And I'm willing, you know, I will tell you, I will give it thought and consideration. But, you know, we were asked at the beginning of the meeting to say where we were leaning, what our thoughts were. And so, you know, I think I've been, you know, tried to share those with you in a way that you understand why, you know, why I'm thinking that way. This is not easy. I mean, you know, please know that you know, this is a very difficult decision to ask any child to adjust to a change of a class size or moving. It's very difficult, but it is change, it is reality, and one way or the other, we have to find a way to solve it.
Joe, do you have any thoughts on it?
If we waited till 17, 18, okay, we would have to pick the increased class size in the meantime, right?
That's right.
Right.
That's right. So the thought is, are there...
No way getting around that, just saying, okay, option, whatever, redistricting.
Right.
Takes effect.
Would take effect the following year, not this coming year. So that next year we'll just have an increased class size. Nobody moves. That's basically what we're talking.
But you have to remember, with redistricting, you're increasing classroom size.
Right.
I mean, when you talk about
Some.
well, some the same as some if it's 27 in a classroom or whatever.
Well, that's the problem. I think that's the problem, is class sizes are going to go up. So I think what we're really debating is how do we manage it? And one way of managing it is to say, well, we'll raise all the second and third graders across the board. That's what option 3 is. Another way of managing it is the redistricting option, to try to have a little more flexible capacity in the buildings so that you can keep some of them smaller, and it's not an across-the-board increase. So I think we're all saying the same thing, that it is going to happen, but we've obviously got a lot of disagreement into what's the best way to manage it.
I think we're
and
all
how can
looking
we
at
keep
this
it
a
lower?
different way, and we're all presenting it a
I'm
different
going
way.
to ask Mr. Kelly to weigh in. Tom, do you have any thoughts on the idea of raising class sizes for next year, but also at the same time picking the option that would be placed into effect the following year, or just choose the option of redistricting coming up?
Well, here's what I feel. The superintendent has and has always had, with advice and consent of the board, the ability to kind of tweak class sizes. And when you, as a number of people very succinctly put it, when you look at the redistricting options, there are increases in the class size. So, you know, we are in effect doing some of that anyhow. But my question would be, if we wait, then we're back into the same position where we are now. I'm not opposed to it, but I guess my question would be, other than time, what do we buy? We have another group of kids who will come into a school, and they will be affected by it just like all the kids are in a particular school might be now. So I really don't see the value in putting it off. Now, if someone can point out to me what that value might be, then I certainly am not opposed to looking at it. But I don't see the value in waiting a year to do the obvious, which is redistricting.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So, Lori, where do we stand at this point with, if we can just refresh us on the count? I'm sorry.
Well, if I remember correctly, Mrs. Reed does not have an option of redistricting that she can support, so she is basically a no for that option.
Mrs. Spade does not have a redistricting option that she is saying I will vote for tonight to start in the 17-18 school year.
Okay.
And Mrs. Bender did not have an option that she was able to support, so I would say those are no's for what you were asking.
Right, okay,
I
that's
don't
fine.
know that Mr. Muha stated, Mr. Muha, did you state that you had an option that you would support to begin? And I don't think Dr.
Well, I would prefer
Nolan,
6, but.
you know, I don't know that anyone really said, yes,
I understand.
I'm raising
Okay.
class size and we'll do this option.
I got you,
and I'm
okay.
good.
Well, at this point, I would say 6 and 8 don't have enough support
Right,
to
I-
advance. So I would ask for a new vote for the people that are inclined to vote for a redistricting option
Right.
to put forward their preferred option.
At this point, Mike, we do have 5 for option 9.
Right.
Okay.
Yes,
So
we have 5
so-
for option 9 and we have
So that's
3
gonna be
for-
put on.
3 for option 2 and 3 for raising class size.
So if anything more, maybe we can, if we want to discuss the possibility of a second option if we so choose, but right now 9 is the option that appears to be where we are.
So then will you also put on relative to raising the class size? And we have a week to think about waiting.
I would be in support of that. Have class size option 3 and option 9.
Okay, so
Thank you.
here's what I want to make clear, Mike. I just want, so we're all under the same, we're operating on the same principle. Even if we decide to consider that, we are going to choose an option next week, which appears to be 9, but we are going to choose that option, and that's going to take effect either next year or the following year, but it is going to take effect, period. That's what
the vote of the board on that.
That's what I believe is the vote of the board.
If the board, you need 5 votes, right?
Of course, of course.
It'll
Okay?
be 6-3. Strictly political.
When you make these motions, if you're going to consider both and you're going to leave both on the table, when you get the policy, which Mrs. Reed is the chairperson, you will want to put option 3 policy 205.
It's 205.
That's what I thought.
You know what, if we're only considering it
As
for a year, I would be against putting policy that raises class size when I think the existing policy gives you the authority with our consent to go above class size limits
As long as-
in an, I don't know if emergency based, under exigent circumstances. So I don't think we need to touch the wording of the policy.
I think that's
I'm okay with that if you give me your approval in the vote.
Yeah, okay, that's fair, I understand.
Yeah. We
Okay.
have to vote on that.
Okay, so,
Not you as in Mike.
Michael, I guess we have to put a formal motion together to add,
Since somebody had a question,
I'm sorry. Sure. That's a good question.
Could you make it, I'm speaking about Ross, and I know Ross has been coming over to party, but would you look at what classes need to increase the class size?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We can't. No, you
Yes.
couldn't do that because of the way the class sizes are now. We just couldn't turn around and say.
It'll be about 31 classrooms. So we have 31 classrooms available there. It all, again, comes down to the number of kindergartens that we have come into Ross. If 4 kindergartens come in, then we have room for 31. If 5 come in, you're at 32, and at that point, we would have to capture a section somewhere in those grade bands that need some relief, and that's where the 2nd and 3rd grade come in. That's where that class size raising occurs. So it would be if it's needed. It wouldn't be just a blanket, let's create rooms by doing this. It would be if those rooms would be needed, is how I would handle it.
so in that situation, that goes back to Joe's, he raised the point of equity. We would be saying it's okay at one school to increase class size as well, while the other schools that actually have the capacity to add more kids.
Right.
We would.
Have a smaller class.
We would,
size.
yeah, so.
That's right.
That's what we,
That's
would-
exactly
I just want
right.
to be sure that everybody knows that we would be making the decision to punish the kids at Ross in those grade levels for our inability to make a decision.
I don't consider that punishing them.
All right.
Well, I would have you talk to the parents of those kids in those grade levels that would be affected.
Is anybody here from Ross?
Please,
They've
please, can
written
we have some
letters,
order,
trust me.
please? This is the board discussion. Yes, sir. That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right, because we're going to be planning ahead to implement that option. I'm with you.
You and me,
We
brother.
don't either.
Okay. So that, exactly.
If we
Okay.
give Dr. Manarino the right to.
He has it right now.
Right.
He has it right now.
And we can keep it
He
that
has
way.
it right now.
Right.
Okay,
I have a question.
okay.
We also give him the right, if the classroom size gets to X number, that we put a para or a TA in there. It's not in our policy
He
now.
has the right to do that.
It's in there now,
We-
too?
We've always done that,
Yeah.
always.
No, we had it out for a while,
It says that I handle that.
but we used to be in.
Well,
Used to be in like,
It used to be, but I'm just saying, it's not, he has that ability to do
as
that.
long as I know he has that ability. Don't get upset with me. I'm just raising a question.
Grade level support is right there.
They get mad at me.
Mr. Yeomans?
Yeah.
I do need this.
Kindergarten? Okay. So,
In a policy.
yeah, we would have to make this, if that were viable, we would have to change one part of the policy regarding kindergarten. And that is, children who are not registered to attend by June 1st may be assigned to a district outside their attendance area in order for us to maintain the proper amount of sections in each school in kindergarten. So everybody know what that means?
Okay.
Dr. Marino,
We have a
how
question.
are you going to address,
Okay, hold on one second. Hold on one second, please.
Dr. Marino, how are we going to address the class size issue at Westview? You've got 3 rooms on the bubble, and you've got every class size average in Westview is larger than any other in the district.
What option are we talking about?
That's class size option 3.
It would be status quo.
Just leave it as it is.
So you would go,
It does create some issues. That's why we're talking about a year.
well,
So
I
we
think
just have to-
if we are going to talk about a year, I think one of the things that we ought to put out on the website so that everybody could see it is the projection. I'd like Dr. Manarino to put together a projection that says, okay, essentially we're saying we're going to do nothing at the schools that that have capacity. We're going to leave those classes, I'd like to see the projection of exactly how much we think the class sizes would go up at all of those 4 schools if we did nothing. Because essentially what we're saying is he's going to raise them on a case-by-case basis. But I'd like to see, is there inequity? Let's see the numbers.
And we have,
It's option 3.
It is option 3?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying, we would be voting for this delay, we would be voting for option 3 to raise these numbers.
for next year.
For what?
Without
For next year.
Specifically changing the language is what Mr. Yeomans
Okay.
is saying.
But the
It's
effect
giving
on
me
the children
authority
in the
To
classroom
make the maps work.
would be the same as option 3.
Yes.
Whether it's
That's right.
permanent or temporary.
That's
We
right.
are still saying, if we vote for that, we are going
Right.
to raise.
Yes, 6 of
In essence-
the 7
understand
grades
what
in
the motion
Westview will experience class size increases, some very dramatic.
Okay,
In
I just want to
essence,
understand
yeah,
what
I mean,
what
Not
we're looking
technically
at.
speaking, but in essence, we're picking option 3 for next year if we do that, and then option
Basically.
whatever it is for the following.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Which is,
I
to
just
my
wanna
mind, is kicking
understand
the
what
can
the
down the
options
road,
I
but
agree.
that's one man's opinion.
I understand. Okay. Okay, thank you. So will you want to make a motion to that effect, Mike, at this point, or?
So what would the motion be, to add option 9 and the option of selective, basically option 3 with selecting
Yeah, well, actually, I think we could say it's status quo. There will not be any redistricting. The other option is to not redistrict until 17, 18.
but to select the option now.
But to select, we will select option 9.
You got that, Lori?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay. Lori, basically,
I don't get it either.
what happens is if we still are going to vote to choose an option,
Okay,
which will either be placed in effect next year or the following year, but it's going to happen, one or two. So if we choose to place it in the following year, nothing changes next year in the way of, class sizes will be actually driven by enrollment and based on Dr. Manarino's ability to at least deal with specific classrooms, not throughout the, well, it would be throughout the entire district, but that means no child leaves an elementary school next year. That's basically what we would be talking about. Within each elementary school, the class sizes may be different from what we're seeing in other elementary schools.
I understand that,
Okay.
but am I asking, are you taking also option 9 to be voted upon next
Yes.
week as its own
Yes.
to begin in September?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
That's true, yeah. So,
Is that what you're saying?
well, both, actually, both.
Okay.
I mean, if we choose not to kick the
Can't
can
have a
down the
motion
road.
for both.
Well, here's my point. We're going to choose that option. It's just a matter of whether we implement it next year or the following year. Okay, so maybe the option, the motion should be that option 9 is on the table. When does it take place? Next year or the following year? That's
Okay.
probably the motion.
Well, I'll
I
make,
think that's the motion, and then there's no other need for another motion, to be honest with you, unless there's a policy issue you deal with. Right?
do you need the policy in a separate one?
That would be okay, as long as you're gonna give me the authority to raise classes, then we can put the other policy on with just the sentence in as first reading next time,
Okay.
second reading in April. That still gives us plenty of time to handle that policy.
Okay, so, I
Let me
don't mean to
ask
interrupt, but here's the point. If we make that option, if we make the option that the redistricting takes place, option 9, the following, not next year, but the following year, automatically, he gets the authority, the superintendent gets the authority to deal with those classes. That's what has to be an automatic. We have to do that.
I want that on public record, that we're giving him the authority, because my concern is this with the board, is that we can say this, we're going to give him the authority, and then when this is done, who's going to get the telephone calls complaining will be Dr. Manarino.
No, that's my job, that's all.
And, no, some of it's your
Not
job,
fair.
but not all of it. It's not fair. I believe that we
Mrs.
need.
Reed, why don't you make a motion that we do that?
Well, thank you,
Give,
Mr. Moody.
okay? We'll continue on.
I would like to make a motion.
I'm sorry, Mr. Yeomans has the motion right now. Go ahead.
It's all right.
sorry.
So, but it's going to capture you.
Huh?
So the motion is for the vote next week is on the agenda is option 9 with the board having to make the decision whether to implement in the upcoming school year or
Right.
to delay
Right.
and put it off till the 17-18 year and giving Dr. Manarino the authority under that second scenario.
If it would be delayed.
If it would be delayed to increase class sizes where needed.
Where needed, exactly. Perfect. You got that, Laura?
I do. I need a second for the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Who's second?
Kathy.
Kathy, okay. All righty, so that's it for the, is there anything else you want to talk about? For
So do
community
we need the
intercom-
policy to go on?
No, that's okay.
All right,
That worked. And then what we can do is put the policy on for first reading
next week.
that has the sentence in it.
Okay.
Before we get off, there was a lady back there that had, you had a question, ma'am, I'm sorry. Please. Okay. Right.
No.
There's no state requirement for
We can't,
busing for
yeah.
kindergarten.
There's a chance they may not get to school. That's exactly right. Yeah, there is a chance they may not get to school they're looking to enroll. Okay,
And that is because of if we increase the class size.
if we increase the class size.
If we redistrict, then
That
that is
doesn't happen. That
not
shouldn't
on
happen.
the table.
Right.
I just want to make sure that I understand what the motion is,
Wait, it's not?
to answer your question,
Wait, I'm sorry, Annette.
Okay.
No, I misunderstood you.
Okay.
Restate the question.
What I'm trying to clarify is to follow up on your question. If we increase class size, we're adding the language that says they have to enroll by
June
June
1st.
1st.
Right.
If we choose to so that's the option that
If-
delays to 17, 18. If we choose 16, 17, are we still?
Yes.
Is Dr. Manarino still asking us
Yes.
to
Yes.
increase, to
Yes.
add that?
We need to find a
Okay,
way
that's what I wanted to understand.
that we have solid kindergarten numbers well in advance of August 20th. And there's, late kindergarten registrations send our budget into a tailspin at times. So our kindergarten registration begins next Monday. All I'm asking is that you enroll your kindergarten child as quickly as possible. Too many times, we're in late August where we are adding sections, adding teachers, adding classes because of late kindergarten registrations. There absolutely are, and all we're saying is that we cannot guarantee that you will be placed in your neighborhood school based upon that. It's not saying that, hey, sorry, it's after June 1st, you're going to go where I want to put you. If there's place, if there's room, then that's one thing. But if there's not, then you may be placed in a school, like if you're in Westview, you may be placed at Highcliffe, 2 miles away.
Yes, sir.
So how are we going to make that adjustment for next year?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to touch on this and then touch on Seville.
If you'll have to wait to talk about Seville after the meeting when we take public comments, because Seville's
Oh, this is
not on
not
the
public comments
agenda. Well, it's not on the agenda, Seville. You can wait
Okay,
until
well, I can
afterwards.
talk about the redistricting.
Okay.
This redistricting is not going to work at all because all the numbers you have are not correct. Okay, so you're going on numbers that are incorrect, so you cannot possibly have a redistricting without having correct numbers. Okay, these schools were built, McIntyre, Highcliffe, were built for 500 to 550 kids capacity. Ross was built for 600 to 650 kids capacity. Okay, Dr. Manarino, about 6-8 months ago, put the charts up there, and he inflated those numbers by 100 per school. At the last
I just want, those numbers weren't inflated. I know where you stand with the numbers, but
can
we
I
stand,
finish,
I
please?
understand, but you're saying the district doesn't have, we have the capacity, the room is there, it's just a matter of smoothing out the numbers.
But at the last redistricting meeting, them numbers went up 200 per school in 6 months. I don't know, did you add buildings somewhere or something, or what? I mean, look at the charts that you had 6 months ago when he was putting them up there, and then at this last redistricting meeting, the numbers were up for capacity 200 above capacity. So the redistricting, whatever you're talking about, is not going to work because you're over capacity already. You need another school.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Hall, what were the planned
Yes, sir.
con capacities for Ross, Highcliffe, and McIntyre?
The plan con capacities?
Pardon me?
Did you say the plan con
The planned con
capacities?
capacities. Students per
I know
room.
we looked those up, but I don't recall them off the top of my head.
I have them right here. I gave you all the sheets
I don't think you have the planned con capacities.
Okay, all right.
Well, could you research that?
Yes, I believe they were in the 700 range, but
Pardon me?
I believe they were in the
700
700
range
range.
for planned con. And that's what we built the schools based on state subsidies.
Okay, I understand. I know.
We're talking about
We're-
what we built the schools to the Pennsylvania school construction plan. And we were
Okay.
given money to build to that plan. Therefore, that is the capacity of the school. I'm sorry.
We're going to move on now. I think we've talked about that long enough. We've got to take on the other agenda. So we will now move on to education. I'm going to ask Mrs. Bender to take that, please.
Education, number one, the regional-wide area network service with the Allegheny Intermediate Unit is for use of the regional-wide area network and internet access. Does anyone have any question about this?
No.
Number two, the regional, again, the regional-wide Allegheny, the letter, the consortium E-rate letter of the agency, that we will continue to be a consortium member with the AIU for the E-rate services. Does anyone have
question about that. Next is the AIU Educational Service Agreement, and that does anyone have any questions concerning that? Okay. Then we have the 2016 summer school pricing structure. Does anyone have any questions concerning that?
I have a question on that. Last year, I can't remember too well, but did we give our own students a price break on it, reduction, or did, excuse me, our students, did they get a price reduction on that? No, they didn't.
Everyone pays the same price.
That was all the same price.
I think it was discussed, Mrs. Reed, if you remember, and it was that if a student doesn't take the time to get his work done here during the school year, that they should have to pay the full price
Okay.
in
Thank you.
hopes of,
That's probably what I remember discussing.
yeah. All right, and the last one is the 2016-2019 Special Education Plan. Does anyone have any questions concerning that? There being none, I would like to make a motion to add the education items 1 through 5 to the legislative meeting agenda.
Second.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mrs. Bender. Let's move on to athletics and activities. Mr. Muhal.
We have one item under this request for the school board to approve a funding reimbursement request from the ice hockey club. The amount of the reimbursement is $8,800.60. Are there any questions on that?
Is this using the same formula?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No further questions. I move that item 1 under athletics and activities be added to the legislative meeting agenda for approval.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Would you like to take personnel, Mr. Nudie?
Joe, do you have any comments on Beatty?
Yes, I did.
Pardon me?
You did? I'm sorry.
Yes, I
There wasn't
did.
anything. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let's move on to Beatty.
Yeah, I had one comment on the last meeting of Beatty, the JOC meeting. We did vote to approve the 2008 construction bond refinancing resolution, and that was mentioned before about refinancing that would save us under long-term debt. That's not our yearly fee, but this is just to start the process. There's still a lot that needs to go on, probably a couple months worth of, it has to approve, eventually go before all 9 school boards for approval. So all we did was vote for this process to begin. But hopefully it'll have a good resolution.
Great.
We did have, I wanted to give some recognition. There were several recognitions from Beatty. The Students of the Month were James Jacobs in Advanced Computer Programming, Luke Chederovich, if I said that right, Agile Robotics, Jamie Alexander in Early Childhood Education, Tabitha Green in Health Science Technology, and Jacob Deere in HVAC. We also had several North Hills students nominated for the Technical Honor Society. Same name, Luke Chederovich, James Jacob, Courtney Muzzy, Kayla Naper, Maya Pallone, Alexis Rudolph, Mary Slagle, Rihanna Yoakum. There was a lot.
Excuse me, relative to that, when is that, or did it already take place? What is the date?
I don't remember from his email. This was a separate attachment. I don't remember if he said.
Okay.
Sorry. What was it? For the Honor Society.
The induction.
I don't think it was mentioned yet.
Okay, thank you.
FCCLA State Leadership Conference competitors, Alexis Randolph and Amanda Kalmbach in entrepreneurship, Jade Lane and Jamie Alexander in Chapter Service Project Display, Alyssa Buchel, voting delegate, North Hills, Trevor Lazara, culinary, And the Skills USA 2016 district competition results, North Hills did have two first-place winners, Abigail Trocchio in advertising design and Caleb Bigley, related technical math. Also recognize Straight to States and chapter display, Zach Smith. So congratulations to all our students, and that's all I have.
May I say one thing, please? My husband and I had the pleasure of going to the fish fry at Beatty. There's only 2 weeks left. It is really good, and it's inexpensive, and the students do all the work. And that's really what's, I think, very neat about it. Thank you.
Lou?
I do encourage people to go to the fish fry. I was there 2 weeks ago, and it's excellent. Not to take business away from the churches, but take one Friday to go to Beatty.
What time's dinner at Beatty? What time is it?
4 to 7.
4 to 7.
They also have fish fry at lunch.
Okay, we can move on to personnel.
Okay. Personnel actions were discussed in executive session. Discussions were concerned resignations, appointments, change of status, and leaves of absence. I move that items 1 through 4 under personnel be added to the legislative meeting agenda for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nudie. We could, Mrs. Reed, policy?
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Listen to this carefully, Mr. Yeomans.
What?
Dr. Mannering, class size policy.
I know.
Because they gave it to you. I thought you were going to handle it. I would like to recommend that we put on for next week a motion to add class size policy, option number 3, giving, and it's already stated in there, giving the right of the superintendent to address classroom sizes. And also add, children who are not registered to attend school by June 1st may be assigned to a district school outside their attendance area. Does that cover it all? Am I good?
Do we need to specify kindergarten in that?
She's referring to, on the agenda that you're all looking at, number 2. Number 2 on the agenda, which is the class size that goes along with
But
redistricting.
that's what I have here.
You want to put that with that?
Right,
That's
that's what I
not
just. Huh? This isn't it.
No, that changes the class size guidelines numbers. Just scroll, keep going. No, right there.
I'm sorry, they didn't
Scroll
include
up.
me.
It's that in red.
Isn't that what I just said? Children who are not registered to attend school by June 1st?
But you said option 3. That's not option 3. That's 2 separate
Oh,
things.
I said up top, option 3.
Yes.
Oh, this here is if we redistrict. Sorry about that. You should have done it. You're the one involved.
Your policy.
I don't care, they handed it to you. They handed it to you to discuss.
I'm not gonna step on your toes.
Hey, listen, that's already been stepped on tonight. Okay, did I cover it?
I think so. As long as everybody understands that on the first reading is H2, not H1.
Right.
Does everybody understand that?
Mhm.
Okay, now you can go forward.
Okay. I recommend.
You want item 2,
I am.
not 1.
I move that item 2, under policy, be added to the legislative meeting agenda for first reading. It's first, second.
This is first reading. You want to add it to the
Okay.
agenda for second reading and
Agenda for
approval.
second reading and approval. Is that correct, Mr. Yeomans? Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, we do have some additional community intergovernmental relations.
So yes, we're going to, so in response to the December 18th notice to the participating school districts in Allegheny School Health Insurance Consortium concerning election of school board trustee for the Northern Region for a 2-year period effective March 31st, 2016. Northern Region school districts have nominated the following school board directors for the school board trustee for the Northern Region, and I think we just lost Tom.
No, he did.
That Morse code.
We continue?
Sorry, we lost his connection.
All right. I'm not going to read that all again. I'll just pick up where I left off.
Go ahead.
I have nominated the following board directors for the school board trustee for Northern Region. Thomas L. Kelly, North Hills School District, Patrick Stewart, Amworth School District.
Okay, do we need a second?
Second.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Please.
Since, and I can't remember this happening before, okay, but since we have to do this and we're going to be one collective vote,
Yes.
what about the people who go to the dinner? That's where they used to vote for people, that you didn't vote as a board, you voted as an individual. Is that eliminated now?
That's the IU.
Yes.
That's when was
That's the IU. That's the IU elections.
Oh,
At
this
the
is
IU
the
convention.
consortium.
This is the
Okay.
consortium.
Okay.
And I'm just questioning, are you making a vote for one of these candidates for,
I think
I
we
mean,
should be able to choose them.
as a board, you get one vote, so,
The majority wins.
yes, so I'm not sure, what are we moving forward to next meeting?
We would discuss that next week when we vote on it.
Oh,
Okay.
we
We
vote
just-
next
We
week.
just put the two candidates on our consideration.
Oh,
for
we
next
don't
week.
vote tonight.
Oh, I mean, if you so choose, you
I
could.
know, I'm just saying, I thought
We
we
should.
did.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be in until March 25th.
Okay,
Okay, so we're voting next week.
Yep, we're going to put the two
Okay.
candidates on there.
so,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
Finance, Dr. Nolish.
Okay, thank you. We have a number of finance items to look at. The first one is the general fund bills, which are attached. Does anyone have any questions on the general fund bills?
No.
Okay. The second one is the capital project fund bills. They're requesting ratification of the capital project fund bills. Are there any questions on those? Okay. Similarly, budget transfers. The request is that we approve the budget transfers. Questions on those? Payroll is, for the month of February, is being requested to be approved. Number 5 is a request for the approval of the proposed 2016-17 Allegheny Intermediate Unit Program of Service budget. And it actually looks like our budget allocation for North Hills is a 6.4% decrease from 2015-2016. And again, all of the districts that within the unit are required to vote on the proposed budget, and if it's approved by a majority of the districts, then it's legally approved, and all districts have to pay, whatever has been approved. So, does anyone have any questions about the AIU Program of Services budget?
We don't have Tom back?
We did do it. I tried to call me.
I'd want to know if he had anything to add to that, but.
Yeah, I tried to call him. It went to voicemail.
Okay.
Well, I would guess we could ask him some questions next week.
I think so.
Before we vote. So
Absolutely.
I think at this point, we're not asking for a vote, we're
Right.
just putting it on the agenda.
We're putting
So
on the agenda. That's
If
exactly
we have
right.
questions, we could certainly ask him.
In the short term, he's done an excellent job. He reduced our contribution by 6%.
We just need a second-year motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, well, no,
What about
there's
the
still- wait a minute.
transportation?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got one
She's not
more,
done.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Unless you want to take them separately.
No, it's
But
okay.
number 6 is the transportation contract, that the request is that we approve a transportation contract with ABC Transit, which would run from the period of July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2021. Our current transportation contract ends on June 30th of this year, and based on the request for the proposal, ABC Transit is the least expensive of the proposals that we received. We should note, however, that this contract will be approximately 6 to 8% higher than the 2015-16 contract. So we're looking at an increase of $160,000 to $210,000 on transportation. So that is going in the 2016-17 budget. So although they were the lowest bidder, we need to be aware that it is going to represent an increase in what we spend on transportation.
Does this figure, what we're paying, include pickup for athletic events, or is that separate, like
Mr.
after
Hall, I'm
school?
going to ask you to explain the details of that.
Okay, the field trips and athletic events.
Right.
Is separate from that 6 to 8% increase. That's for the.
That's separate.
That's for the main transportation.
Okay.
But the contract does include both main transportation as well as field trips, athletic events, and other busing requirements.
Okay. And they can meet those needs for after-school transportation for,
You say they can.
okay. We'll see.
Any other questions on the?
Mr. Hall, how much lower were they than our previous source?
It's kind of hard to figure because of the difference in the fuel clauses and difference in other contract clauses, but in general, they were $295 per bus for the 84 passenger buses per day.
Okay.
And First Student's proposal was $321 per bus per day.
Okay. Thank you.
First Student also wanted us to eat all costs for fuel above $1 a gallon. ABC is over $2.50. There'll be a fuel escalator clause. So there's a substantial difference there if fuel starts to go back up, which, as you noticed from looking at the pumps, it has started to go back up.
In the previous contract, you had a cap on fuel prices, is that correct?
Yes, and under the previous First Student contract at $2.60,
Okay.
the fuel clause started to come up.
No, and you do have a cap on this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if there are no other questions, then I would like to make the motion that items 1 through 6 under finance be added to the legislative meeting agenda for approval next week.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Support Services, Mrs. Spade.
I would like to, what do I want to do? I want to add 3 things to the support service. The first one is Westview Capital Project. Is there any questions? No? The second would be Westview Elementary roofing repairs and exterior building repairs. Do I have any questions? The third one is Westview Elementary site work design. Is there any questions on that?
Just grateful to see this is being up.
And I'm very grateful this is up, and I'd like to say one of the projects that we're going to do is the stage at Westview, which is in very bad need up there. So I move that items 1 through 3 under support services be added to the legislative meeting agenda for approval.
Second.
Thank you.
Something we can all agree on.
Okay, that being said, that brings us, before we close the meeting, is there anybody that would like to address the board under additional public comments? Okay. If you wouldn't mind taking your turn at the podium, please state your name. Sir, you can go first if you so choose. State your names and address for the record. We would ask that you keep your comments concise and hopefully you can keep them to 3 minutes. But you're first, sir.
Hi, good evening. My name's William Varana. I live on 213 Coney Drive. I'm the chairman of the board of directors for the Seville Volunteer Fire Company. I was in front of you guys last year about this time, and we talked about purchasing the lot behind our fire company. Now, I didn't come before the board between now and then because all the redistricting subjects keep coming up, so we kind of put it on hold. But I'm here tonight again to ask where we stand on purchasing that land from you guys. We need it. We use it for our fundraiser events. We have a corn roast in August. We have our hall rentals We use it for parking lot, and all our, I'm drawing a blank, and our community events, pretty much, and our education for the firemen. They utilize the back lot to learn for the pumps, learning how to drive the truck and for parking and stuff. So we really need this lot. And I'm pretty much involved up there for the last 35 years now. And I've seen a lot of activity going on within the last couple of weeks over at Seville School, which indicates to me that I'm sure that there's people interested in purchasing that school. So I'm asking you tonight, where do we stand? Can we sit down? Can we talk?
Yeah, right now, as you know, the property is for sale. If there are all kind of people that are interested, please send them over to us, because
we're interested.
Okay.
I'm speaking on.
I'm talking about the entire plot.
Yes, I'm speaking on the Seville Fire Company.
Right.
Now, we're interested in a 150-foot length of the lot and 100-foot wide. That's all we need.
Right.
We're willing to do what it takes as far as getting it surveyed, anything else that we might have to do as far as the cost goes for there. But we really need this lot. If we lose this lot, I can only say that there goes our training area, there goes our fundraising, parking, and I'm pleading tonight, you know, I know a couple board members here from last year did go over there and look at the lot. Mr. Muir over there, I know did for sure.
No, I agree. We've kind of suggested anybody that is interested in buying it, keeping your plot, so to speak, not exempt, but at least perhaps talking to someone, so look, would you consider?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have anything in the works right now, but we've always and will always take into consideration your needs as this lot is at least discussed with a potential buyer. So at this point, we want to keep it intact, but that does not mean that you don't have possibility of purchasing that. We just don't know what a buyer may come along and ask for or not ask for. And it appears that your plot you're asking for doesn't seem to be all that much of a difference maker when it comes to the whole plot. But
well, just for instance, sir, the company that was just over there recently that's interested in purchasing that lot said that they would be interested in letting us use the back lot for our corn roast. Unfortunately, that isn't enough. We need it for an everyday functions. We need it for during the day. We need it for the night. The company that's interested in using this is going to use it all the time. So
I agree.
we really need to, I'd like to really sit down. Why can't we purchase 150-foot by 100-foot of that lot? We've been using it since 1932. And why is this such a big ordeal here? I don't understand that.
Yeah, we will. I understand your question, and we will give that a tremendous amount of consideration. We do need to sit down with potentially a realtor or a surveyor or something like that that would give us an indication. What's the impact of potentially selling this lot or getting rid of this particular parcel? What impact would it have on the entire parcel? So we need, as a board, we need to get some professional opinion on that so it doesn't impact or jeopardize the sale of the whole plot, which I don't believe it does, but I'm not a real estate professional.
Right.
But I think we just need some professional opinion and help on that.
Okay, so I can take it back to my guys.
Yeah, it's under consideration, no question.
So they understand that tomorrow we're not going to have that lot pulled out from under us.
No.
Okay.
Exactly. No,
I'm going to hold you to that.
please do.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make a comment on that?
Please.
Yeah, I would like to consider that. I think all the fire departments offer a vital service to their community, and it seems like even if someone bought that and they already had that lot, that would provide a buffer between the buyer and the houses that are adjacent to that lot right now. So, and would it help if they put it in writing?
Well, I think
Or their request in writing?
we could, but I think he has our word at this point that we're certainly going to look at this before that property would get sold, even listed or even put under agreement.
Just so you know, we are on the verge of, just on our own behalf, doing a survey on our own property to see actually how much behind that we own.
Okay.
And we are in the process of other functionings to come before the board.
Okay.
So.
We will. No, we owe it to you. Absolutely, we'll do that.
Okay, I appreciate.
There's nothing in the works that you would wake up tomorrow morning or even next week to find out that property changed hands.
Okay.
Mr. Wilgus,
Thank
can I
you.
ask the question on this? Is there anywhere where we would have a written agreement with the fire hall now, since they've been using it?
Well, yeah, that's why I said we need some professional
could
help.
check in it.
I think that's a legal opinion we could get that they would have
David
access.
raised his hand. He must know something. Dave?
We have a lease with the fire company.
And
The
do you know
lease
how
was
long?
entered into in the mid-90s
Okay.
for the use of that piece of the parking lot
For how long was the lease?
till we say no more.
Is that what it states?
Right.
It's cancelable at notice. I think 30-day notice, something like that.
Okay.
So we have options, and it may be more favorable for you to keep leasing it like you are for the next 50
Well,
years.
I mean, yes, exactly, but
Maybe.
again, we don't want to come tomorrow and find out that it's been sold.
No.
And the people that purchased the lot
Right.
or purchased the property don't want to let us use it at all.
Right, I agree.
So,
No,
we have to,
we-
we're here to protect ourselves and try to protect the community that's involved, that come involved in the
We
fire
owe
company
you
also.
that. I agree 100%. We owe you that, and I think we all do.
Can we get an opinion, a professional opinion on what the value of what he's asking for is?
Sure, that's why I said, that's why we need some,
To any potential buyer?
that's why we need some professional help to sit down with some folks to
Huh?
get that.
Get it appraised with that slice and without it. And if there's no big difference or huge difference in what they project the value to be, I don't see why we couldn't.
We've had it appraised with the slice. I need board approval to spend the $4 or $5 grand it's going to cost to get it reappraised.
Yeah. So, but at this point, Mike,
Split that cost.
I don't think, Mike, I don't think it's necessary to go that far right now. It's just a
Okay.
matter of, we can get some professional help to at least come to some conclusion that may require us to get an appraisal, but.
Well, we're
not
gonna
right
need an
now.
appraisal anyways if we want to sell it?
We got an appraisal the last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and did it break that piece out, that appraisal?
No.
No?
So, but you can just rest
If
assured
you
we're not-
Google map it, you'll look
Right.
down on it, you'll see the big open
Yeah,
spot
we
that
have
we
it,
want,
yeah.
and
Okay.
that's what we're interested in. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brittany Hagerman. I live at 56 Montclair Avenue, and I'm here on behalf of Child Development. You guys have recently decided to cut the program. Oh, sorry. And I highly advise you don't. You've gone about this decision without putting us, the high schoolers, or the preschoolers in front of you, and taking our thought into account. My experience with child development has determined what I want to be when I grow up. If I wouldn't have had child development as a class, I wouldn't want to be a pediatric oncologist and help all the little kids I want to help. You guys are truly doing a disservice to the kids coming through by cutting this as a course. I understand you guys think it's a liability, but in the longest time it's been there, nothing has ever happened. The students that go through child development truly love what we do. We love working with the children. We love meeting them. We meet their parents. The activities we do with them not only benefits us, but it benefits them. Everyone always preaches you want your preschoolers ready when they come to our kindergarten classes, and that's exactly what we do. Most families in our neighborhoods might not be able to afford the preschool classes, if child development isn't here. But it being here truly provides everything that they need. I first started child development as a 10th grader, my first semester. I have now taken it every semester since and planned on taking it next year, until I was called to the counselor's office to switch my schedule. There is not one other class offered at North Hills that gives me the opportunities child development does, and I wouldn't want to take any other class other than child development. Earlier in today's board meeting, it was told that kids are difficult to adjust to change, but you're now expecting these preschoolers to go to kindergarten without a preschool class. It's much more difficult to go to a kindergarten class full day before going to another class. These preschoolers come half day, 3 days a week, making them well educated and ready to go into kindergarten. The preschoolers matter more than you think to us high schoolers. The class matters more than you think to us high schoolers. I know it might not mean a lot to you guys, but it means everything to us. You're all sitting here and you all have a job, and I know you guys could pinpoint the place in your life that determined what you wanted to be when you were older. The thing that pinpointed what I wanted to be when I was older was the child development class, and if I didn't have that, I can't promise you I'd want to help little kids when I was older. But thanks to the program, I do. All I'm asking is that you reconsider, because you're doing a disservice to everyone in our community and in our school by getting rid of the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Alyssa Bogdan. I live at 306 Ilex Drive. My issue is also on behalf of child development being cut from our curriculum, and I have a lot that I'd like to get out, so excuse me if I speak kind of fast. To begin, a wise person once said, "Confidence in our own abilities becomes the first step towards success." In child development, the students are not only taught to be confident, but they are also taught social skills and skills that you will need for the rest of your life. Not only are the children benefiting from this, but the students are too. Children and students are both being put on the right track by taking this course. Child development easily makes the student taking it more confident. Students are each assigned a child that they care for 3 days a week, and 3 times a week that student is learning more about the child and more about themselves. I personally know many people who have taken the class going into it thinking, "I don't even like kids," and by the time the class is ending, they find themselves so upset that it is. The student and the child both grow throughout the course. Students and their children form a special type of bond after spending so much time together, and with that being said, anyone who takes the class easily gains confidence. At North Hills, there's a variety of people taking the course. We have athletes, honor students, your average students, and even special ed students taking the course. These students can think they have bad social skills or that not many people like them, and then they have an innocent preschooler who learns to love them. Having a young kid being so excited to meet their new teacher leaves a great impact on the student caring for them. Previously mentioned, social skills drastically increase due to being in child development. With a variety of students in the class, there also comes a variety of children. Our program has children who can't even speak fluent English, children who don't have great social skills, and children who have never been around kids their own age. Mrs. If and the students work very hard to form a curriculum that has the students and the children interact with one another. Children getting to do fun activities with a person constantly supporting them boosts their self-esteem and builds the relationship with the person caring for them even more. With children already being discussed, let's get into how the students develop from this program. The students taking this course become more creative, adaptive, patient, and positive. With creativity, students take Tuesdays and Thursdays without the kids to plan activities for the kids to do, and these activities are the students' own ideas. The students must be creative while planning these activities because it must be fun for the child but the student must also instruct the kids and motivate them at the same time. With being adaptive, when working with young, energy-filled kids, the student finds out that the rules are not always being followed by the children, forcing them to quickly adjust with whatever the child is doing. The students become a lot more flexible and are quicker to think. Patience. Yelling at children when they do something wrong is always not the best way to go about it. Students learn how to comfort children when they do something wrong, but still be direct with them at the same time. We talk to our kids instead of letting our anger get the best of us. Instead of saying, "That's bad, don't do that again," we ask, "What made you think of doing that?" and try to see things from the child's point of view and explain to them what went wrong. Positivity. Helping children overcome issues teaches children to look at the bright side of things. Kids react best to positive people, and our students are very, very dedicated to caring for their children and are positive in every way that they can be. When it comes down to it, our child development program is being scolded due to liability issues. I have a hard copy of proof that Governor Wolf got rid of the fees for volunteers to take this class, and I'll read you the sentence that is on this paper. On July 25th, 2015, Governor Wolf waived the fees for clearances for volunteers and reduced the cost of clearances for employment purposes from $10 to $8. And if anyone would like to see this, it's right here. I will gladly let you read it. Out of North Allegheny, Hampton, Seneca Valley, Shaler, Pine Richland, and Upper St. Clair is the only school that requires clearances for this class, and it clearly states in the curriculum that the clearances are free of charge. Even if worse came to worst, we could even have the class without the children if the liability is that big of an issue. We spend half of our semester learning how children develop by doing work in class and through textbooks that are provided in the class. So it's not like our entire class or our entire child development course is us working with young children. And I understand why that's a little liability issue. But earlier mentioned in the meeting, the kindergarten budget is $200 million, correct me if I'm wrong, and nothing is being cut for that, and we're not asking for changes to be made to our budget. And since the liability is what's making this such an issue, we're just asking that since the clearances are free, if that is the biggest problem, that we just get the free clearances, or we even go about having the course without the kids. Instead of punishing the entire class, I'm requesting that we make small changes that benefit us instead of breaking pretty much everybody's hearts who's taken the class and breaking the hearts of students who haven't yet got to take the class. Ben Franklin once said, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." The North Hills Body cares deeply about this program, and I hope that the other students speaking on behalf of it and myself can come together to be a loud enough voice for that to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Beal. My address is 336 Bepler Avenue. I'm a senior at North Hills High School, as well as a member of the Academy for Law and Government. I wanted to start off today with speaking about a quote that I heard the other night when I was watching one of the debates, the presidential debates. It said, "Invest in the children." Are we really investing in the children if we get rid of the child development program that is offered at our high school? This is something that not only benefits us as high schoolers, but it benefits the children as well as the community. This teaches us life skills that we will carry on with us for the rest of our lives. Because of this class alone, I not only got my very first job that I've ever had as a nanny working with kids ages 5, 8, and 11. Without this class, I, 1, would have never gotten the job in the first place, and 2, I would not have had any idea how to work with these kids. Along with that, I was also given the opportunity to volunteer at a daycare that was provided for low to no income families throughout our community. And also, I had the opportunity to volunteer at the Special Olympics. All of these things I would have never gotten the opportunity to do without this program. I wanted to present to the board today a petition that we created at our high school. We created a paper copy right here, and we had also created an online petition so that we could get signatures from people throughout our community totaling of almost 700 signatures. We also had a section for comments that people could leave, and I wanted to read one off to you today. It says, as a taxpayer, alumni, and parent of a current North Hills student, I'm appalled at the thought that this course could be cut. Courses like this teach students not only about physical, intellectual, and social development of children, but also equip students with the tools that they need to make responsible life choices. Moreover, child development courses help to prevent students for one of the toughest jobs that they will ever face, and that's being a parent. Cutting this course would be a great disservice to our students and the community at large. It is a very special feeling to be able to walk into a classroom and know that there's somebody sitting in there waiting for you to come in and teach them and learn from you. And not only do we learn from the students, but they learn from us. It is an honor to be able to address you here today and have a positive impact, hopefully, on the lives of not only the students, but the preschoolers and also the community. I hope that you will take all of our concerns into consideration today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Cheryl D. I live at 142 3rd Avenue, and I'm here also to address the issue of the Child Development Preschool Program. I myself and many North Hills taxpayers were very angry and upset upon hearing that Dr. Manarino and the school board had recently voted to do away with the Child Development Preschool Program. We feel it was done undercover under the guise of a curriculum change, when in effect it's a community issue. This class touched many, many North Hills students. It touched many North Hills preschool children. In the 25 years plus that this has been in effect, I have yet to hear of any issues, any liabilities, any problems, and I would hate to think that fear would drive us to stop such a wonderful program. The reasons I've been given for you doing away with the program have sounded convincing and frightening, the way it was put, but there are solutions to all this stuff. The one main recurring issue I hear is that students over the age of 18 are taking this program without security clearances. Well, as the people before me had said, they can get these security clearances. One simple solution is make this class available to students under the age of 18. There is plenty of students that want to take this class, so I think you would have very little issue with having younger students do it. Another issue I hear is the safety of the preschool children. I just wonder, for the last 25 years, no one was concerned with their safety. Why now is that going to be your reasoning for shutting down such an important community benefit? The classroom is located next to exits, and the high school student ratio to these preschool students is such that the older ones would have no problem getting the younger ones out in the case of an emergency. Another reason I heard from one of the school board members that really got on my nerves was, well, North Allegheny did away with theirs and no one cared. We are not North Allegheny. We do not have the finances North Allegheny does. I cannot believe that that would be an issue or a reason to do away with such a wonderful program. Most parents in North Allegheny probably don't need this program. A lot of their finances are above what our district has to offer. They probably have preschool programs they can afford, or they have their children in daycare programs that have a preschool attached to it. I've also heard the issue that some preschool children outside of our district have taken advantage of the program and have been enrolled. This may be true. I myself know of grandparents who are caregivers to their grandchildren. They've been taxpayers for 40, 50 years in the district, And I feel if they want to take advantage of a wonderful opportunity for their grandchildren, why not? This class is an early education tool that benefits the financially strapped families of North Hills and serves as a springboard to other preschool programs. It also provides high school students the tools to decide what career they may want to pursue that would involve interaction with these children, such as in the medical field, teaching, childcare, or even parenting. What better way to serve a community than by providing affordable early education for their children? Let's live up to our North Hills motto, pride, tradition, and excellence. It is for this reason I hope this is not a done deal, as I've been told by some of the members up there. I hope you can open your minds and your hearts and reinstate this wonderful program. Thank you.
When they're done. When they're done.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Ganabi. I live at 12 Schutzen Park Road. I just want to say that when I was told that this program was not to continue any longer, I have 7 children. Every one of my children went through the program. Every one of my children, when they came to the high school, participated in the program. And I believe that there's no other program out there that offers the benefits that Mrs. Ziff's class does. When you have a ratio, I also work for a preschool and a daycare and a child care center. The ratios in these places are 1 to 4, 1 to 6, 1 to 10. We have a one-on-one relationship with your student and the preschooler. There's no other place that that student and preschooler can get the intimate learning that they are given here. My children have benefited in the way that they teach and treat other children, the way they teach their peers, the way they treat their peers. The program also offers the fact that for low income or anybody who wants to be here, the price for the program is invaluable. If you cannot afford to send your child to my preschool, you have this preschool. And to sit there and say that there is no way that we can continue this program, you are putting a lot of people out. You're taking a lot of things away from people who really need it. And I believe that the students are gaining a valuable lesson as to how to be a parent, as to how to treat children. Because in this day and age, there's a lot of parents who do not want to parent their children. There's a lot of parents out there who do not know how to treat their children. And when you have a foundation that's given here, and that's what's expected, you're sending out teenagers who are going to be wonderful parents. And I don't think we can deny that at all to any student who wants to be able to take on a child and learn from Mrs. Ziff and her class. Can't take it away.
I'm Megan Ganabi, 12 Schutzen Park Road. I went through the child development class. I am her daughter. I don't think that any other class like teen transitions or any health class covers what Mrs. Ziff's class does. If safety is an issue, if child development is that big of a liability, why was this not brought up how many years before and how many years this has been going on? I can't fathom why it was only just brought up this year, if it is such a big issue to do away with the class. I believe this situation, the answer was brought up irrationally. I think there are different ways that we can fix this rather than just take it away completely. I don't think that what was brought up is any real reason to just take it away. This doesn't just affect you guys. This affects more than you know. How many, over 700 signatures were on the petition? This affects the preschoolers, their parents, us, the teachers. And safety being such a big issue and it being a liability, why do you think Ms. Ziff had to go to classes to learn how to take care of children? And in the weeks before we even deal with the children, we are taught how to take care of them by Mrs. Ziff. She has the qualifications. Us taking care of the children, if it's us, like someone said before me, there are free screenings. With us learning about it how many weeks before we even get the children, before we even meet their parents, safety shouldn't, it being a liability, it should not be that big of an issue, in my opinion. Thank you for your time and hearing me out, and hopefully this class is not just done away with, because there are many more benefits than you guys see, than anybody sees, I think.
I'm Jamie Thomas. My address is 5000 Towers Terrace, and I'm also here to talk about the Child Development Program as a parent. As far as liability goes, I'm the mom that doesn't trust anybody with her children who I'm not related to by flesh and blood. But there is no place that I would send my child to that I feel is safer than this class, because there are so many adults or near adults in the class. It's not a 6-to-1 ratio. It's not a 10-to-1 student ratio, student to teacher ratio. It's one-on-one, and with a very experienced teacher who's been in the building since I was a student here. I think most, if not all, of the parents that are at the school sending their preschoolers there would gladly sign waivers for our children. You know, whatever stipulations you want to put on there about it, I would happily sign it saying that I trust these students and the teachers with my child's life. Mr. Yeoman, thank you for addressing the email that I had sent out earlier to the board members. One point I wanted to touch on there, and I totally understand your suggestion that there's a Beatty class in child development that offers certifications and such. At least whenever I was a student here, Beatty wasn't a track that kids took if they were planning to go to a 4-year college in their future. It was something they took if they were, you know, ready to go right into their career in 2-3 years after graduation. So kids that wanted to be, you know, future oncologists, things like that, future teachers, they're not going to get the class at Beatty. And if you cancel it this year, they're not going to get it in their future in North Hills either. So I strongly think that you should still consider it, having it as an elective course for students at North Hills who would like to pursue their education at 4-year colleges or as doctors or wherever else life takes them. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ed Vesley, 116 Lingay Drive. I have a couple things I'd like to say tonight. First, I'd like to talk about, First, I'd like to talk about the preschool program at North Hills. I have two daughters. My oldest daughter, she attended that class. Bravo to what she accomplished in that class. She's going into elementary ed because of that class. My youngest daughter had the opportunity to attend there as a student or a preschooler, and I can remember picking her up on occasion. And the smile on that little girl's face, that little 4-year-old, when those students brought them out, pardon me, was just fantastic. I mean, the students love it. The students that are teaching the other students love it. I can't believe it's being eliminated. I come to all these meetings, so I do have a question before I proceed with more. When was this discussed? Why wasn't it discussed in open whatever? Because obviously it came to my light just today that it's been, in fact, 2 minutes ago, that it was eliminated. You approved the course curriculum back earlier in the year, and this was in that course curriculum, and all of a sudden it's gone? So I do want to ask that question before I proceed. Can someone answer that question?
Well, it was discussed with board members. The whole idea, Mr. Vesely, was the fact that looking at trying to make the system work with the number of teachers that we have in the elementary area. The one thing that did come up is that Beatty does offer the program. We pay Beatty a fee every year to support that school, and the program that Beatty does offer is exactly what we have here, so those students do have the opportunity to take the Beatty class.
So it came up as a budgetary item somewhere in the open discussion, not an executive session? I don't understand.
No, it was an executive session because it involved personnel.
So you're eliminating the personnel position, not necessarily the course?
No,
We're going to have somebody else teach the course?
No. It's being offered at Beatty. The students do have the opportunity to take the same course.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Vesely, you have the floor.
Okay. That being said, I'm disappointed at the approach the board has taken on this issue. I think something that eliminates a class, whether it's offered somewhere else or offered at Beatty, should be discussed openly in the public sector because it's part of education. It's not part of personnel. So that's just my opinion. I'm going to digress to what we discussed earlier. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry. Young ladies, and I don't think there were any gentlemen, congratulations. You are very good public speakers. It takes a lot of guts to get up here and put yourself, if you're not used to publicly speaking, we as a community should be so proud of these students. They are so articulate. It is amazing that, you know, I don't know what grade all you young ladies are in, whether you're in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, whatever. This is really great. I applaud you. So moving on, I do want to say a couple things about redistricting. First of all, I'm glad that you guys discussed this openly with everybody. As a person who is more in favor of not increasing class sizes, I think that's a detriment, and I want to add one thing about that wasn't discussed. There is probably a silent minority that is in favor of keeping the class size policy what it is. The reason they don't come up and speak is because they're not directly involved. When I was in the redistricting committee back in 2008 and 2009, there were a ton of parents who were here from Perrysville. I had to fight to get on that committee because the people that really wanted to serve were the people that were directly affected. My daughters had already passed through elementary, but I wanted to be on that committee because it affected the community as a whole. What separates us from our neighbors to the north and some of our neighbors to the east and west is exactly our class size. We keep it lower than a lot of our neighbors, and that is a benefit for everybody in the community, whether you have your kids in the community or in the schools right now, or they will be coming in the future, or they will have already passed through it. It is definitely a benefit. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Hi, before I start speaking, I just want to make sure everyone's listening, because I don't think you guys are hearing us. Everyone's looking at their phone or looking at something else, and you're not seeing what you see. We are the student class. We are who you need to be paying attention to. You're not in the high school hallways every day. You don't go to classes with me. You tell me I can go get this course at Beatty, but I can't because I want to be a doctor. So I can't go to Beatty for half the day and sit with a child because I want to be a doctor. So I go to anatomy and I go to AP biology. I go to CHS math classes to make sure I get into pre-med school. But when they look and say, oh, you want to be a pediatrician, have you ever worked with kids? No one's going to be able to say that anymore because you think it's a good idea to get rid of child development, when I haven't heard from you guys actually why you're doing it. So why? Why child development? Why my class? Why the class that helps so many people in our community? Why do you think it's a good idea?
We've already answered the question. We're deploying the resources elsewhere, and the course, again, is offered to Beatty. So that, I can't give you a better answer than, I understand you don't agree with it.
But you're not paying anything for the child development course. The parents pay for their kids to come. So what are you doing for us then?
And there also is a liability issue, which I know you don't agree with.
And it's free to get the liability issue fixed.
It's a liability issue also. So
I don't understand the issue here.
Apparently you don't. I understand that we're just not in agreement with what you think and what the board has decided. I understand that.
Because you didn't take into consideration anyone's thoughts but your own.
We took it all.
You didn't take our consideration.
I'm going to have to ask you to sit down now. We've heard for your statements. Please, you have to be a little respectful when you address these meetings. We do have certain rules here. So is there anything else you have to say?
Maybe you should have been more respectful to us.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Doherty. I live at 736 Jefferson Drive, and I am a parent of a preschooler. She is in now her second semester at the child development preschool, and she's a very anxious young lady, and without the assistance of Mrs. Ziff and all of young men and women who greet the children at the door, I don't think I would be able to send her to school. And they, in a matter of a few weeks, were able to get her into school, love it, enjoy it, want to go back. Taking away this program undermines the value of early childhood education. And that is what you're telling your community. In a day and age when early childhood education is the beginning of their development into kindergarten and beyond. Reading doesn't start in first, second grade. It starts in 3-4 year olds. And that's what they're doing at the program. They are generating small children to be lifelong learners. They are doing a wonderful job. This is something for myself. I live close. I'm a full-time working parent. Because the program starts early, I can bring my kid to school. Any other program out there, I cannot do that. I can't even pick her up. So that means I wouldn't have any involvement in her school day whatsoever. But just that one, being able to take her, is a very important thing to me as a parent. So that's something to consider. You're also talking about income factors. It's over $1,000 a year for preschool. I've already looked at it. And not to mention the fact that enrollment for preschool starts in January and February. Programs are closed now. So all of us parents that were counting on next year, which I'm one of them, I guess my kid doesn't get to go to preschool, so she won't be ready for kindergarten. And like I said, I work full-time, as does my husband, and we have an older child. So when is she supposed to get that development that's going to be required as she enters into kindergarten and school-age years? Thank you.
Hello, Cheryl D., 142 3rd Avenue. I have a feeling that you people, not all, but especially the center of that desk up there, could care less what we're saying up here.
Cheryl, that's not true. If that were
I'm
the case,
telling
that's
you,
not true.
students have been
Please,
fiddling.
please.
Please tell
Could
me.
you please be
Mr.
respectful here?
Wilgus.
We're asking you to be respectful. Can you be respectful, please, or I'll have to ask you to leave? No,
I'm sorry, I'm
just
sorry.
You make these accusations.
It looks
That's
like
not
a
true,
smoke
Cheryl.
screen.
It's
It
not
really
true.
Do we have a chance? Are you actually hearing?
We're letting you talk. It's
Are
been
you?
decided. I understand that. But
Does what we're saying mean anything?
the decision's been made.
And that's what
It's
you
been
folks
made.
do.
I'm just
It's
telling
been
you.
made
I'm
without
I'm
any
trying to be
input
honest.
from the community.
I'm trying to be honest with you. I understand how you feel. I
Why
understand we
weren't you
disagree.
honest with us before you started this process and brought it to the public's attention?
The board feels it's a better use of resources doing something else with that particular position, that program.
Shame on the board that the dollars are more important than the community.
I
This
understand
has
what
been
you're
a
saying.
community blessing for
I
all
understand what
these
you're
years.
saying.
And
There's-
all of a sudden, financial resources
We've also
are
been
more
advised
important.
that this is a highly, highly liable program that could get us some problems if we continue
It could.
It could, and we can't
I
take that
agree it
chance.
could.
We can't
but
take that
It
chance.
also couldn't.
We can't take that chance, not today. It's not like it used to be.
Shame,
It's just
shame,
not like it
shame.
used to be.
Shame, shame, shame on all you.
Thank you.
My name's Alyssa Bogdan. I live at 306 Ilex Drive. I would like to point out, with the utmost respect to every board member sitting in front of me, if you had taken into consideration what this does to the community, what this does to the students, and what this does to the school, we would not be sitting here coming up in this line multiple times to try to get you guys to see from our point of view. That is not what taking into consideration is you guys making a decision, not listening to the students who are a part of your school. We are supposed to be in this together, and I mean that with all of the respect that I can give you. Wait, hold on. I need to think of what else I wanted to point out. Just give me 1 second. Beatty. So, you are sitting here telling us that it is easier for the student to pay hundreds of dollars to get into the Beatty Career Program, and then you guys pay more money for the students in our school to work with children through Beatty. You think that's easier than just getting a free piece of paper saying that we can work with children? That is a question. Do you think it is easier to spend hundreds of dollars, have the students spend hundreds of dollars to be able to work with children, rather than doing it for free and benefiting here at the high school, where it's local and we don't have to worry about transporting to the Beatty Career Center, anything like that? Do you think it is more beneficial to spend hundreds of dollars for us to be able to do something that we are so passionate about, rather than doing it here at the high school?
That's the decision we've made, yes.
I don't understand.
Yes.
I don't understand.
Yes. We'll take one more.
I don't understand what you
So I'm being kicked off of the stand, I can't speak anymore?
You have another minute.
May I ask you a question? I don't understand why that you say it's hundreds of dollars for students to attend Beatty. I mean, I understand.
Because it is hundreds of dollars for students to attend Beatty. The reason I didn't attend Beatty is because for cosmetology, it costs $400 for you just to get a starter kit. I'm not sure what the price is for every single program at the Beatty Center, but every student that I know that goes there has had to pay money for it.
For their equipment.
Yes,
It
which
would
you
have
need
to be
to go through the Beatty program. Am I correct?
Yeah, I would assume. I want you to know, and if you know Madeline or not. Madeline she's not here. She left.
Oh, okay.
She is our school board rep. She's a Beatty student. She is highly intelligent. She is very involved, and she's in the child development program. And her goal is to go on to education. Perhaps it's not for everybody, but Beatty is a wonderful program. And you must think along those lines. Please.
I'm not saying that Beatty isn't a wonderful program. I think we're very privileged here at North Hills to even have Beatty as an option, especially for those who want to go straight into their career like that was mentioned earlier. I just think it is a bit absurd that the board's idea of taking into consideration is making a decision without giving anybody any time to speak other than right here after you say the final decision has been made, I don't think that's justified. Thank you.
My name is Caitlin Beal. My address is 336 Bepler Avenue. I just had a question for the board. I would like to know why it was that students were notified a week ago prior to the board meeting today that they were not going to be able to take the class anymore for next year.
Once the decision was made, we had to notify the students.
When exactly was the decision made?
A couple of weeks ago, I guess, or at least a week and a half ago, somewhere along those lines. I don't know exactly what day, but it was the last executive session, whatever it was.
So now, is this decision being made based on financial matters, or is it purely on the liability issue?
Both.
Both?
Yes, both.
Okay, so I would like to know how, with the liability issue, why is it a financial matter if the clearances for the liability issue are free?
It's not the cost of clearance. It's the cost of liabilities, having 4-year-olds running around the school in different, being in the building at times, if something would occur and something would happen to one of those little children, or some of those little children, there's a huge, huge liability to the school district. Okay, that's coming from a legal opinion that gives us pause to think about that. And the fact, as we mentioned earlier, we do have an opportunity to deploy those resources elsewhere. So that's kind of both.
Well, as I was just made aware of, is there not a liability issue at the Beatty Center for this type of situation?
It's on them now. It's on them to cover it. They have it. They have it. I mean, they've got it.
I'm sure they have it all covered.
So why is it that we cannot have it covered? Why is it that they can have it covered, but we can't?
Well, first of all, do you know the Beatty situation? First of all, Beatty situation, the child development program is totally separate from the older children. There's only one way in and one way out. That's number one. They are certified relative to having a daycare center and also a child development center. Beatty is capable, because of what their responsibility is, of doing more. I know that you're concerned about the liability. Liability isn't you students. When there's a bomb threat, who takes the kids out of the school? Where do you go? If there's a fire, who takes care of the kids? That's what we're looking at. And I know you all say, I have my student and I will take care of my student. But things are different. They are very different. My son went to this program and I loved it and it was wonderful. But I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I'm going to ask. I'm just, we can't keep people coming up and repeating and talking. Just make your statement and we'll move on, then we could.
In terms of safety of the children that attend, the preschoolers, I do think as a parent that I'm making a logical, educated decision on behalf of my child. If I thought in any way I was putting her in danger, she wouldn't leave my house.
Yeah.
We have a world that is crazy, yes, but it could happen here, it could happen at any one of our schools, anywhere in the country.
Right.
I am not putting my child in any more danger by her being less than a mile from my house than I would be anywhere else. It's my choice as a parent. If the parents feel that this is not a safe environment for their kids, they will not enroll their children. And then the program itself will not exist. But as long as there's a demand for it as a community, and as long as the parents are comfortable sending their children, then I don't think that the liability issue holds water.
Thank you.
All right,
Good evening. My name's Cody Russell. I am the President Pro Temp for the North Hills Education Association. And I just would like to say that, again, echo Mr. Vesley's comments for all the young ladies that show us why myself and many of the other teachers in this room are very proud to call ourselves teachers in this district. And I think tonight is a prime example of one of the many things that makes North Hills School District a great place for our students and for our families and for our community, right, and for everyone, which is why we had the conversation we did about redistricting, because people want to live here, right? But I want to go on record for all of you here tonight that the North NHEA would is very open and willing at any time to have a conversation about the concerns related to this position and how we may work together to facilitate at least revisiting this issue. I think we at least owe that consideration to the individuals in this room tonight that have raised their concerns. You know, it's not a new concern today, and it's not a concern that exists only here at North Hills. There are many neighboring districts that face similar challenges that I think we can work together to hopefully facilitate, a solution for our students. Thank you.
My name's Ralph Blakely, 420 Bascom Avenue. Okay, you're talking about the redistricting and stuff, and I don't know how you're even discussing this when the capacity numbers are not true to begin with. So this whole redistricting thing is going to blow up in your faces. Okay, that's why Seville School was not sold in the beginning, because this is the golden goose that's going to save you guys. All right, but according to Mr. Nudi and his comment, okay, about District 1, now I understand why Seville is off the list all the time, and who knows what else the board is thinking up there if they're on the same page as Mr. Nudi, okay? That's why Seville is being discriminated against. Our area is being discriminated against, okay? The underhanded Presley Ridge deal with the school, that was the bus station or whatever the heck this was going to be. This is ridiculous, putting this stuff right in the North Hills community, but it's in District 1, which doesn't matter to none of you folks up there apparently. Okay, we're part of the North Hills School District. Okay, now as far, you guys set some precedences here along the way, and we would like to have the same precedences in the Seville area. When you sold Northway and Terrysville, you had them listed with at least 30 different real estate agents. So I need to know who Seville is listed with, whoever I give this to. I need to know the real estate agents that Seville is listed. And also, you set a precedent by doing that, and it should be the same as Seville, if you're selling a school. And the other precedence you set was with the charter school. When you took a vote with the community members, okay, they got voted down. Seville deserves the same exact thing. If somebody's going to buy that school, we need to be able to vote on it. It's our community. We set the precedence with the charter school. We expect the same.
Okay, thank you. That being said, I think we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, I just wanted to do one thing. We are.
Someone else wants to say something. Sorry, didn't mean to talk about it.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Julie Wilkinson, 128 Grove Avenue. I would just like to comment on the redistricting and option number 9. To be honest, I was really surprised that you picked that option only because it came out 3 days ago, and at the town hall meeting it was decided it's going to be 2, 6, 8, or class size. And then when I heard it came out, I was like, oh, they won't do that. I have good faith in the board. And I know we like to kick around analogies here, so you really pulled the wool over my eyes when you went for option 9. And it sounds like that's the direction you're going. So I'm requesting that you wait until the 2017-2018 school year, because in order to transition these elementary students, you cannot give them April and May. Those of you who aren't in education, April is very saturated with PSSA testing, so they're not going to be focusing on transitioning in April, so that just leaves students in May, because you're done May 27th. That is not an adequate amount of time
to get these students ready to go to a totally new building. And please do not tell me it's going to be an ice cream social in the summer, because that just doesn't cut it either. So that is why I'm requesting that if you're going with option 9, which it sounds like that's what the board wants to do, you wait to implement it until the 2017-2018 school year, so the students, the parents, the community has an adequate amount of time to get ready and prepare these students and make it a positive experience and exciting, like, oh, you're the lucky ones who get to go to a new school, and not, oh, hurry up 2 months, say goodbye to your friends because you're going somewhere else because 5 out of 9 people decided that was the best decision. So that I'm just requesting that when you do vote, that you postpone it until the 2017-2018 year to give us time to get our children ready and make it a positive experience. That's all. Oh, sorry, there's just one more thing. I know you should let things go, but I cannot let go the comment, Mr. Nudie, that you said about that section. You cannot discriminate against a family based upon what street they live on. That is ridiculous. You're not at the Eden Park with your friends hanging out. You're in a public forum, and you're saying on record that based on the street you live on determines the type of parent you are. That is wrong. My moral compass is guiding me to say something. I know I need to let it go, but I can't let that go. And you made it worse today. What you said today was worse than what you said a week ago, and I just don't understand why you're judging parents based upon the street they live on. And you're supposed to be the vice president of our board, and you have that judgmental opinion.
I'd like to respond to that. I made an apology earlier. I'm not going to.
That was an apology? I mean, don't shame them any more than you already have.
Will you allow me to speak, please?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't singling out streets. I was looking at the entire geographic area. It was not a specific street that I was singling out. And as far as being against single mothers, my wife raised a child as a single mother with my support in North Hills School District. Okay, I supported my ex-wife, and I also tutored them in math, tutored them in science, and tutored them in Spanish. Now, I was not addressing single women. You people aren't aware of the problems that are going on in this district, primarily on the city edges over in Westview.
Okay. Please.
Excuse me. There are drug problems. There are children who are affected by families who are having drugs.
All right.
And that's what I'm talking about, demographics.
You can't judge people like that. It's just not right.
Please, Pat, you'll be the last one. Feel free, and then we're going to adjourn the meeting.
Good evening. My name's Patrick Mullen, 315 Jacks Run Road. I am the new commissioner for the 7th Ward of Ross Township, and I'm here tonight because of numerous phone calls from people like these people that live in my ward about what Mr. Nudie said. His words, exact words, were that these people are transients and don't take care of their children. Well, I know personally most of these people in my ward, they all work, they all have jobs, they all send their kids to school, they send their kids to church. There's drugs everywhere in North Hills, not just in the 7th Ward. There's drugs in your neighborhood where you live. I don't know why you keep disrespecting the 7th and 6th Wards, but you do it every time you open your mouth. And I think your apology tonight was weak, and I think you should be censored by the rest of the school board. Thank you.
You have to understand what transient is. That's a term used in school districts where you have high turnover real estate. That's what transient means, not transient people.
All right. I'm gonna adjourn the meeting, what I do want to say is, we have adjourned, but I want to have an executive session after this meeting. You got 5 minutes. We're going to start here. Thank you. We're going to have an executive. All right.